Hello, fellow MS-DOS enthusiasts, and welcome to the DOS Nostalgia Podcast, episode 5?
I think it's episode 5.
I think so too. And as usual, I'm your host, Anatoly, and today, for your listening pleasure, we have a returning guest. Hello, sir, how are you?
Hello, I'm very well. I'm very pleased to be back. Am I the first returning guest?
On the podcast, yes, you are, most certainly.
Excellent. Cool. And I am Ben Chandler for those who can't tell from my voice. And it's a pleasure to be back. An absolute pleasure.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, let's not bury the lead and, start off that we are approaching a very important date because a 20th anniversary of a very important event because on December 10th of 1993, id Software released Doom and changed the world of gaming forever.
Yes. And I think not just the world of gaming, I think the world of computing in general. And,
Yes, absolutely.
And yeah, I think you could safely say that they changed the world.
Yes. id Software changed the world in 1993. Well, I remember playing Doom for the first time. Do you?
I totally remember playing Doom for the first time.
Yeah, I particularly I played through Doom Shareware in one sitting,
Of course.
and I was blown away. I think I remember getting up and back in those days, the old CRT low refresh rate monitors, you kind of zoned out after a while looking at
Your
them, and you
eyes.
could
Oh man,
your
bloodshot
eyes and
eyes,
just
painful eyes.
massive headache, and you were so disoriented just getting out of the
Yeah.
chair. And that's the feeling I remember after completing Doom. But just at the same time, that's usually like you play a game and you get up and you're like, oh god. But after Doom, I just got up, and besides, I forgot about all of that. I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe what just happened inside my computer. That's literally was the feeling. Doom in 1993 felt just like somebody cut a hole in your monitor and you were just looking at some other world. That was Doom. And to me now, I just think it's because in a way, I do consider Doom, especially Doom 2, like a perfect game. Do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and especially at the time, when you look at what had been done with software before and games like that before, suddenly there was an experience which wasn't at all abstract. Games at the time always required a fair bit of imagination. Either you're
Mm-hmm.
playing as an avatar and it's a bit like a board game, you're moving stuff around, or, the graphics didn't really immerse you, but suddenly there was this experience that was completely immersive and completely evocative. There was no way that anyone could play it and not go, oh, at the
Yes.
time, not be absolutely blown away.
Absolutely. I mean, the everything, all the elements combined together in this in this one experience. I mean, it was made by a few guys who was really their first of all the art style, right? So id Software had the Wolfenstein 3D before, which it wasn't realistic, but it went for a realistic environment, stables, brick walls,
Sure.
Nazis, and stuff like this. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, you have that sort of hell and other planets and whatever else, just weird textures, weird and really grotesquely designed enemies. I remember the first time I've seen a Cacodemon, and I was just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, that's I mean, come on.
Man, I remember the first time I saw a demon and I was like, oh my God, what is this thing?
Yes.
Even the sound effects that they used to make, the sound, the graphics, everything really worked in unison, I think, to make a very
Absolutely.
cohesive experience.
Perfect controls. That's my thing.
Yeah, man.
With Doom,
Absolutely.
to me, Doom is like Super Mario Brothers. You sort of you sort of you take the controls and they instantly feel natural. Yeah.
Even a lot of first-person shooters that got made after Doom that get called Doom clones, you play them and the controls, you could never call them a Doom clone.
No.
The controls are awful, The
Mm-hmm.
movement feels wrong. Doom feels perfect. It always has.
Yes, Doom always has. They nailed the dynamic right. Your turning speed is just right. Your running speed is just right. And you, by the way, you ran like you could outrun
Oh my
a
God, Doom
rocket
is
in Doom.
fast.
It's
Yeah,
fast, something that we don't see anymore. But
not
uh,
since.
and that the engine that they created all of a sudden, before you can have sort of Wolfenstein clones, or maybe like Ultima Underworld, you had
Yeah,
this sort of little window with slopes and darkness and stuff, but all of a sudden you go into Doom, and the environments are just like, you have elevators lowering and going up, ceilings coming down, you have all those, you go through little corridors, and then you go into like an open, sort of semi-open places, and all kinds of cool stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
Lights
All of a
blinking
sudden,
all over. Like you'll
yes,
pick up a yellow key. Lights go down and imps come out from behind you.
absolutely.
One of
Yeah,
the
I
most
think
memorable
that's
moments.
if I think the biggest thing for me, if you compare like Doom to other games of the time, like Wolfenstein 3D and games like that, is all of a sudden you had really dynamic levels. You went from just mazes with doors
Hmm.
to all these dynamic levels, and they surprised you and they held all these secrets that there wasn't secrets. Everyone had been used to secrets behind walls and
Right.
stuff like that, but Doom really made a really dynamic level, and like you said, I think the lighting played a big part in setting the mood because
Absolutely.
you had, yeah, this
Yeah.
was all amazing new stuff.
A lot of it was, like in darkness, and you go in, lights go out, and then you like shoot a barrel, and for a second you like kill a couple of enemies, and you turn around. Really, and by the way, maybe not by today's standards, but it was in a way like a horror shooter.
Yeah,
A lot of it was spent. A lot of the levels were built around sort of surprising you and you always overpowered the enemies, but at the same time, a lot of it was like going around corners in the dark, not knowing exactly what's going to happen, or enemies coming up behind you, or just teleporting in, and just like little surprises. You step on something, all of a sudden doors open and there's two
or you
barons,
pick
and
something up.
yeah, stuff like that. Like really, really worked well. Like it was back in the day. Like now, I played Doom 50 million times, and I don't really have that response unless I'm playing some WAD some levels that are I'm unfamiliar with, and those might surprise me. But like standard Doom levels don't have that effect on me. But back in the day, it was scary. Like I was scared very often. I mean, it was 20 years
Yeah.
ago, but
Well, I think they had this ability to design a level that really felt frantic. They
yes.
really focused on that feeling
Mm-hmm.
of there's enemies all around you. You're low on ammo of the ammo you like. What am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this? Especially in Doom 2, I find that very true.
Yes, absolutely. Doom 2 is superior in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think we should talk about Doom 2 later, obviously, but yeah, they had this knack of designing really frantic, fast-paced, sort of panic-inducing levels.
Yes, I love Doom 2. I think maps in Doom 2 are perfect, but we'll get to that, I
Yeah,
guess.
we will. We will. I think
Um,
we'll keep them separate. I remember you were just talking about how you felt when you first finished the shareware version of Doom. And it's funny because I really felt the same way. I remember my brother and I used to play games a fair bit together, and he
mhm.
was really the first person shooter fan. At the time, I wasn't the sort of guy. I wasn't an action game guy at the time. I was very much a sort of strategy game player, and that was my thing. But he he was having trouble finishing Doom, so he was like, I can't get past these two guys at the end. He was like, man, I don't know what to do. I was like, let me play. So I remember we sat there obviously in the room with all the lights off because when you're kids, that's how you play, and I still play like that today.
Yep, yep.
And just blasting through these levels, and there's this. I will never forget the way some of the elements work together. The way that enemies walk around and you can hear them opening doors and closing doors used to scare the crap out of me
Yes.
as a kid. Because I was pretty young when I played Doom. I was born in at the tail end of '87, so I was pretty young when I played Doom.
Wow.
And yeah, as a little kid, man, that was the most immersive thing because you know that it felt like there's guys coming for me. What am I going to do? There's this real sort of panic and yeah, that's really what Doom evokes for me. The design of the enemies. There's guys and they look like humans, but they've also got these crazy eyes and they've got this green hair and they just look
Yeah.
evil. And yeah, like you said, the first time you finish the shareware version where you beat the Barons of Hell and you go into that dark room and you're surrounded by guys and they just blast the crap out of you. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was
It's
a very interesting opening to have you die at the end of an episode.
yeah, it left you wanting more. I really feel that they really very clever what they did there.
Yes, absolutely. It's like, like you kind of weren't with Wolfenstein. It wasn't like that. With
Yeah.
Wolfenstein, you kind of just got more of the same, and the best levels are pretty much in the shareware. At least the ones that feel like you're in an actual dungeon,
Yes.
rather than a maze of mad designers' thought. Um,
Yeah.
Doom was not like that. The episodes do like other episodes do matter. The original three
Absolutely.
episodes are actually kind of different from each other.
I would say they're fairly different from each other.
Yeah.
You know, I find them like very varied. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think
And the first episode is just exactly that, a good setup for you to get used to the game mechanics. Because the first episode is really easy.
yeah, yeah, you play it these days. I laughed the other day because I played Doom a couple of months ago through. I was doing a feature for Dossius Good, and I was playing it, and I got to the Barons of Hell, and I really got that feeling still that I always get. You know, you're coming up to the Barons of Hell,
Right.
and I'm going, oh man, I remember these guys, and I laughed how easy. I was like, man, I can't
Yeah.
believe I remember this being a really big moment in the game.
Yeah,
You know,
all
it's
you
so
need is a shotgun and you're done like in a second, which is
yeah,
ridiculous.
man.
And you can play the shareware of Doom on the highest difficulty, and I don't think in today's age anybody's gonna have a problem with that.
Yeah, but it's yeah, I think there was this. And also another thing I wanted to talk about is I think Doom was really successful because of the shareware model. You got
Yes.
this amazing. I mean, when you look at the first episode, you look at how much you get compared to like some demos that you'll get of a modern game, and
Mm-hmm.
you get so much playing time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you get this awesome. You get this awesome whole episode to play through, which is a fantastic thing, and it really felt like an achievement
Yeah, and
to
you know what
finish.
else you got with Doom shareware? You got multiplayer.
Yeah, so and that's another really important thing about Doom. Doom changed the world. Doom
Absolutely.
all of a sudden, you know, you could play against your friends with this high energy, sort of fast paced,
Really fast, really
crazy
frantic. Not to
action
mention,
game. Yeah,
also, not just against with friends,
co-op.
co-op games in Doom are really good, especially later on when they actually, like when you play in co-op, it adds additional switches and stuff like that for you to sort of. There are some certain things that only show up on maps in co-op mode.
Yeah,
So
so you're kind of solving puzzles at the same time as you're
yes, and
blasting.
there's like different, changes happen. So like it's not the same thing just with it. And like I remember to this day bringing the Doom shareware to school, one day to like a computer class, and we weren't doing anything that day, so I just like installed. I just copied it on all the computers. We had the Novell network going, so and the teacher's like, "Yeah, do whatever you want. I don't care." So we all just started playing. One guy is like working on documents or some stuff. Like everybody else is playing. Well, like the other like 3-4 people, whatever.
Obviously, come on,
And like eventually, even the teacher joined in because it's Doom, and that's what's the time for it. So
man. That brings back a really fun memory of my physics teacher in high school playing through Doom on nightmare mode on his BlackBerry phone.
yeah, it's
He's
well,
a crazy guy.
I
But
guess
yeah,
to play on Nightmare.
yeah, and
It's,
on a little crappy BlackBerry phone. But yeah, Doom was everywhere. Doom popularized not only like multiplayer, but also it popularized gaming. People that weren't interested in gaming because gaming was like, it was solving puzzles and
yes.
stuff like that. All of a sudden there was this amazing. I know Doom is what got my brother into gaming for sure because there was this
A lot
this
of
super and
people
it's
where I'm from were buying PCs because of Doom.
yeah, that's the thing. People were suddenly buying PCs, and you hear stories of lots of businesses where their workers are going, "Oh man, these PCs are no good for work. We need to upgrade to 486s."
You know what?
All of these,
I just I wish there were some kind of statistics, but there should be how much like the
yeah,
world's output dropped at the tail end of 93 for about
yes,
a year, because there has to be. Anywhere I went,
there
and
is
let's face it, Doom was one of the most sold games around that time.
absolutely, yeah,
Right? Like I think That's like the first time we started seeing millions of numbers being sold versus hundreds of thousands. And let's face it, I haven't paid for Doom in my life until ways later, and
Oh,
nobody
sure,
I
neither
knew
did
did
I.
either. And everywhere I went, like I remember going to my mother's work because she worked in an office, and every single person was playing Doom all
Yeah.
day. And I'm pretty sure it was the same situation everywhere in the world. Everywhere there was a computer, there was Doom. So if Doom sold like millions, it got pirated in like in I don't know tens of millions. I don't know what that is, but it's just productivity must have dropped. Like Doom is one of those
Oh,
games that I'm sure is responsible for the world's economy kind of slowing down for a while.
World Economic Crisis
Yeah,
Doom
it
release.
wasn't really like a crisis, but like it gotta be because I don't see what people like had. It was everywhere, universities, offices, everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Doom
Anywhere
was
there was a
all over.
computer.
Anywhere was a computer, there was Doom on it, and
Yeah.
it was pirated and was always played by someone. Like
Yeah.
that was the thing. So Doom was that massive of a phenomenon.
I think you mentioned the music. The music for me is a really, really important part of
Oh,
Doom.
of
I remember the
course.
music really, really, really well, and I still listen to it to this day, you know.
So do I. It takes away
Yeah.
from it, like with the years, though, with all those comparison videos where you're like, oh, most
Uh,
most of them are just straight up rip-offs of stuff, but it's still
yeah.
really good. MIDI soundtrack, which is like
Yeah, that
it really fitting. Again, in Doom 2, I like Doom 2 more than
Doom 2
Doom
has
1.
better music, I
Yep,
think.
and better
Yeah.
levels
Well, and yeah, better enemies and a
and
better shotgun.
better shotgun. That's right.
But
Uh,
yeah, I think the real point is about Doom is you can't deny that gaming would not be anywhere near where it is, if it wasn't for Doom, if it wasn't for id Software's, second innovative or innovation in the first person shooter genre. Well,
yeah.
I think for me especially, Doom is the game that defined a whole generation. There was this whole thing in the 90s where consoles in the early 90s where consoles were for gaming and PCs were for office work and
Right.
research and,
Right.
and accounting and everything like this. And all of a sudden on the PCs we had this game that was way better than any console could ever do.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way that anyone could keep up with this new thing that had been done, and it really felt like that's what suddenly everyone was like, oh man, we can play games on our PC. It turned the tides, I think, from PCs being sort of, there's a fair few games released on them, but they were never really seen as a gaming platform to all of a sudden, hey, this is a gaming platform.
Oh, absolutely. And, gaming, like all the gaming wise, it was, that was what exploded the first person shooter genre
Oh yeah,
in the world.
yeah,
I mean, there were successful first person shooters before, including id Zone,
sure,
Wolfenstein 3D, but
absolutely,
that's for gaming. First person shooters, massive. After
yeah,
that, Doom clones just started happening all over the place, and
absolutely, and none
multiplayer.
of them were as good.
Yeah, multiplayer. Everybody had to have a multiplayer mode that pushed the further development of progression of multiplayer, which to that point in PC gaming or almost PC gaming, all gaming was non-existent basically. Doom
Yeah,
was people's gateway to the multiplayer in general. And
that's right.
that's what started pushing the hardware technology. I mean, we really started seeing what technology is capable of and what 3D is all about. Doom showed us that. So now the next generation of consoles and all kinds of hardware pushed more towards 3D to eventually end up where we have 3D acceleration. But we just sort of everybody was going after 3D. 3D became really the thing. People started
Yes.
talking virtual reality around that time and stuff like that, which is like we didn't know it's going to take us like 20 years to get there, but that was it. Doom seemed like a gateway to a new world, both gaming wise and technology wise.
Yeah, absolutely. I think playing Doom um, was incredibly empowering for anybody because all of a sudden it felt like we were in the future, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
By nowadays standards, let's face it, Doom engine is pretty primitive.
Pretty basic.
Yeah, because all it is
Pretty
is
basic.
2D, BSP sector map with just heights. That's another thing
Sure.
about it. All the sector parameters are just ceiling and floor height,
Yeah.
right? Even the textures, like in Build Engine, you were allowed to stretch and pan and do whatever with the textures that you want on the walls. But in Doom, for each polygon, it was just top, middle, and bottom halves. Actually, designing levels in Doom was a pain in the ass, at least for me, which is why I never did it, because it
Yeah.
was very unintuitive, and you had to define sides by yourself, and wasn't really user friendly. But however, it knew this, and all of the levels in Doom and Doom 2 are all designed around those limitations. Like, you will never, like, there's no slopes, right? Doom doesn't allow for
Right.
slopes.
There's a
Just
lot of steps, a lot
there's a
of
lot of stairs,
staircases.
and there's a lot of stuff to design those like really weird stairs leading to somewhere, or have like sort of like elevated structures on top of stairs, and all the doors only open up. But you never really feel like somehow it nailed this design where it was new for levels where you would just go from set piece to set piece. That's what another thing that Doom really established. If you play sort of like pre-Doom fully 3D games, sort of like Ultima Underworld, they don't really have that either.
Mm.
Doom sort of established that you go in the corridor and you come out and there's this open room that's memorable. You remember like how memorable, like you just replayed it recently, right? So like a couple of days
Sure.
ago or a couple of months ago, or both.
A couple of months ago. But
Yeah, and how well do you know all those levels? Like all those levels, parts of
Oh,
levels
God.
really, really stand out.
There's definitely stuff where you just it was some stuff just takes me back to being a kid, playing even just some of the textures on the walls,
Mm-hmm.
even from Wolfenstein 3D where you didn't even have textures on the ceilings, you
Right.
know all of a sudden you've got these colors and these shapes. I think that really, just having that stuff in there, it really builds a set piece, and you know what's coming, but it still feels great
Mm-hmm.
when
Absolutely.
you get into those areas. There's the sort of areas where you walk over a pit of the slime that
Mm-hmm.
hurts you and stuff like that. You're like, man, I remember doing this as a kid in the shareware version.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
And
yeah,
the art direction is fantastic in Doom.
it
Oh my
really is.
God.
Adrian Carmack.
And to think that it was made by such a small team of people, but it's
Yeah.
it's perfect. The sprites, the enemy sprites that are drawn, the enemy sprites that are retouched stop motion things, which people think is like the majority. Like not really.
No,
There's
not really.
only a few stop motion enemies really, and the rest of them are just like pixel drawn, which are like amazing art, and they're creepy, they're weird, they move like in an interesting way and stuff like that. And
I actually recently did an art workshop, and they wanted you to take inspiration from a thing and sort of run with that. And I kind of ran with demons from Doom, particularly the Baron from Barons of Hell, because they really stick in my mind as something that freaked the hell out of me as a kid.
yeah, and they were tough
They
enemies too before they
they were,
before they added Hell Knights in the other game.
yeah, the Hell Knights are basically diet Barons of Hell.
Pretty much. I do like
Yeah.
them more because I can dispose of them faster. Uh, but yeah, like all those, basically, and Doom was like very aliens inspired. So there's
Yeah.
slight HR Giger things going on in textures here and
Oh,
there. It's like
you got slime and weird shapes and weird color.
yeah,
Even I think you look at the muscles of the demons; they're this freaky kind of exaggerated thing, and they really high contrast color palette really lends them this air of freakiness.
mm-hmm.
And you look at like the demons, the various demons. You've got this big creepy eye floating at you, covered in horns, and you're like, holy crap!
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of the freakiest looking
Freak you out.
monsters
Yeah, and they get right in
ever.
your face.
Yeah, and they do in when they the death animations on the enemies, like it just like melts, it
Yes.
just like pours out when it dies. It's just like so
You know,
felt so graphic
one
for the
that
time.
one that always disappointed me a little bit was the Cyber Demon's death animation, because it seemed a little
It's
underwhelming.
jumpy because
Yeah,
I
it's a
assume
little
it's
underwhelming.
one of those that's one of the stop motion animated
Yeah. And
enemies
he's like this. He's got
clearly.
the most hit points. You put like I think he's got 4,000 hit points.
I don't
Yeah.
care. It's all in the BFG or
Yeah.
shotgun. It doesn't really matter. Like I don't have problems with
Two
cyber
shots.
demons anymore. Back
Is
in the
it
day,
on?
we discovered circle strafing, and that's it. That was the end of
Yes.
everything.
Never look back.
Pretty much. It's that.
Yeah.
Like Doom really also put, the mouse control, like you can control a mouse. If you wanted to be good at Doom, you played with a mouse. Doom is amazing. Between maps, sounds, music, and everything else, Doom to this day is a very cool game to play. Yes, it might be antiquated technology-wise, but because it knows how to use that technology so well. It's like, again, I always liken Doom to like the first Super Mario Brothers, right? Uh, to me is like a perfect platformer. It's basic yet perfect. It doesn't have all the advancements that they had, the few advancements that the platforming genre side scroller had. Yet
Yeah.
but the controls. Everything feels perfect, and the levels are just perfectly designed around that technology. So Doom to me is that. The controls and the technology and the levels are perfect for that sort of experience, and that experience is not gonna go anywhere. Like I'm sure you put somebody who hasn't played Doom ever in front of it, and once they get past the really low resolution and everything, they'll get into it because it's just that good of a game.
Yeah. I think even, with the indie game resurgence of like pixelated graphics, look at Minecraft. There's
Oh yeah,
there's an
absolutely.
insane amount of people playing Minecraft. I think like there's never been a better time to get people back into Doom,
Yes,
because
and there's like 1.5 million source ports, so
oh man, you can play all sorts of versions of Doom now.
play Doom the way it's intended. Play it with a nice source port that allows you to make the resolution higher, but leaves everything else the way it's intended to be.
Yeah,
Because that's what
absolutely.
Doom is about,
Yeah,
Doom is perfect. You don't really need to improve on it.
as we said before, it's a very cohesive experience between the sound, the art, the gameplay, and the level design. I think, and Doom doesn't really need I love games with story, but I don't think Doom really needs a story, despite having the Doom novel, well, the first one, and I just recently ordered the second one because Doom makes its own story. Doom is about the experience. I
Hmm.
think, you know, for me, Doom is a story of my childhood. Playing this crazy, explosive, dark sort of. It wasn't afraid to be violent. It wasn't afraid to be sort of dark. I think Tom Hall was originally working on the game and actually left the project because
He got bumped off it because
yeah,
he
he was
was he
worried it
was
was too violent.
he was also pissed that they didn't use any of his. Well, he kept writing designs, and Carmack was like, "We don't need any designs. It's you shoot things. We never had any design documents
Yeah.
before. Why are you writing this design document?" And it's true because Doom really, if you read the Tom Hall's Doom Bible is available for download. It has been for quite a while now, and you can download it and read it. And yeah, it's kind of it looks and sounds like Half-Life.
I think
But
didn't Carmack say to him at one point, "Nobody watches porn for the story" or
yes,
something like
that's
that?
what that's where it comes from, and and if you play the original Doom alphas, you have those things where it's like poker table
Yeah,
with Marines standing around it, but none of that ended up in the game f- and that was for the best. Doom is
yeah. I
good the
think
way it is, so
Doom focuses less on like this world building experience and just lets you play. It's
yeah,
don't think about what you're doing. Just
yeah,
think about survival.
yeah, just it's better off that way.
Yeah, I think so. No
Absolutely.
disrespect to Tom Hall because
No, of
let's
course not.
face it, he's worked on some amazing stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, which by the way has also there's a GDC talk with that him and Romero did about Doom, which is also really interesting. It's in a GDC vault somewhere, so
cool.
people check it out.
Check that out.
Check it out. Doom was one of those games that famously allowed for customization right out of the box, kind of, but not really.
Kind of. Not
Um, in a
not
way that
compared to.
no tools were provided and everything had to be hacked. And it did. Like everything got hacked. People made their map editors and everything. Basically, what Doom provided you for, you could sort of attach a different bank of data. Um, with your levels and graphics and sounds, and it would load on top of the original game, and you could play your own games that you made with the tools that you created yourself or got from somebody else. That's basically the level of customization Doom allowed. Which people say now, it's like, oh yes, it allowed for customization, but in reality, it allowed for very little.
It was very sort of homebrew dev.
Yes,
Like,
it was targeted to people who, I mean, I guess it was more to the point where like other people would figure it out and make their own stuff, but yet it was easier for them to distribute it. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't have to hack anything to run a PVAD. You just had to, run the game with a parameter. But if you wanted to make one, it was a lot more to it than just grabbing some tools and doing it, because there were no tools.
But it was the 90s, you had the demo scene and everything like that. People were really good coders.
Oh, of course, there was like
veteran coders were crazy in the 90s.
All right, so we wrapped up in Doom. Play it. If you haven't played Doom, please do. I hope everybody who's listening plays it.
If you are listening to this,
you can easily download the source port.
Podcast, and you haven't played Doom, there is something has gone wrong with reality.
And you don't have to pay for anything. Just download the shareware, download the source port that support you for. It runs on everything. There's a Doom source port for everything. You can run it on literally like a digital camera. If your digital camera is good enough to have a good display and like some kind of a digital processor. Have you seen those, by the way? Doom running on cameras, literally?
I never have.
Well,
man, that's incredible.
Doom runs on everything. It's like Tetris. It runs on everything.
Man, my physics teacher played through it on nightmare mode on his BlackBerry phone in like 2003.
I can't imagine that.
No, neither can I. I'm not interested. But he finished it. I remember being in class and when he finished it, and he was like, "Yes!" And I was the only person in my physics class to pass that year, by the way. He was a really bad physics teacher.
But the thing is
anyway.
But of course, for the best experience, get it on PC, play it with keyboard and mouse, as high resolution as you can, while preserving the original graphics. Z-Doom, of course, is recommended. Or GZ Doom, basically. So that's that. And everything supports the shareware. So
if you haven't got a computer that can run Doom, seriously, you can buy one for $10. I promise you. I've bought a PC that can run Doom for $10.
Okay, if you don't have a computer, so I don't know what you listen to this on. Possibly your phone. So your phone,
you can run it on your phone.
Your phone can run like 10 copies of Doom. Because let's face it, like Doom came out with like all this amazing technology. Okay, the phone that you have in your pocket is about 300 times more powerful than any computer in 1993.
No matter what phone you have, it's at least got 1 gigahertz, which was
that's what I'm saying. It has more power than a fucking supercomputer in 1993. So
do you remember when they got the first 1 gigahertz computer? I remember them writing about it, and I was like crazy.
Yeah, of course. So your phone has more computing power than Doom will ever need, and Doom is very tightly programmed. That's why it runs on everything.
It is, yeah. And Karma is a programming genius. There's no other way of looking at it. Shall we move on?
Alright, Doom 2, commercial, retail, box, kind of.
Yeah, for a change, it wasn't shareware.
And by the way, Doom music, don't play it through AdLib. Every time I see a video on YouTube that plays Doom music through AdLib, which happens to be most of them for some reason,
they got this obsession.
I just cringe. I love AdLib to death, but this is not the way to play that Doom's General MIDI soundtrack. Oh my god. I mean, basically the Roland SC, right, is what Windows has been emulating since Vista
forever,
basically. So
it's been like
this
10 years or so.
And this is like your preferred way of basically listening to the Doom soundtrack. It's built in. Just use your general MIDI output in your DOS box or your source port.
Basically, don't change anything.
Don't do it. Why people feel? Because that soundtrack, I'm sorry, AdLib. I love AdLib, but this soundtrack is not made for it. It just sounds so shitty. It sounds shitty on AdLib. Don't do it. If I see a video on YouTube, I will be tempted to comment, but I'm above that. But just know, if you're listening, if you're about to make a Doom video, you're gonna put it in AdLib mode. Just don't. I'd rather hear to the PC speaker. Did you ever play Doom with the PC speaker sound? Oh, it's ridiculous. It's like playing Commander Keen. That's what it sounds like.
I'm fond of PC speaker sound, but I haven't tried that. I should try that.
Doom sounds best at what it's made for. Sound Blaster and Sound Blaster compatibles and some kind of a general MIDI compatible card. So yeah, there's that. So Doom 2.
Doom 2.
Doom 2
Basically,
is
it's
basically
based.
is basically the same game. You wouldn't be able
Yeah,
to get away with it nowadays, where you like two and it's all the same engine, exactly the same. All right. So not a thing in Doom 2 have changed technologically. Content
they added one gun.
mostly the same.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, they only added one gun, the best gun ever, the good old double barrel shotgun.
So,
Is
super
the
shotgun.
super shotgun is the most amazing weapon that just about everyone sticks in for the most part, sticks with,
Yeah. Yeah.
and more textures, 32
They
levels
added a lot
altogether,
of enemies.
and they essentially doubled
Yeah, man.
the enemies, including some of the most memorable and most annoying things, like the Archvile
Oh man,
is
everybody
the
hates those. They're
who
annoying.
does not only they look freaky and they run around fast, they
Set you on
they
fire.
set you on fire through this line of sight, so there is no way to get out of it except for hide behind the wall.
Yeah.
And they resurrect
Yes,
other enemies if it wasn't
they do.
bad enough.
Yeah, and
So
they just look freaky. They got the rib cage sticking out, and it's
yeah, well, all the monsters in Doom look freaky. All the new additions also look freaky as hell too.
oh
You
the
got
pain
Palin
elementals.
Elemental that explodes in the more. That's more of a beholder thing, I guess. There,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
explodes in an explosion of lost souls, and he also shoots lost souls.
Yes, he
Uh,
does, and that is annoying, man. If you're not watching, if one sneaks up on you, you can be surrounded by lost souls,
Oh
and
yeah, and then of
you're
course you
screwed.
blow it up, and you still have to clean up afterwards and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, the new enemies in Doom 2 are great, and there's so many of them.
It
Ma-
really is, man. It blew me away when I played it. I was like, when
the
I started playing, the
Mancubus, come
first,
on.
yes,
That's and has the best death animation where it just like drops dead with like as it falls apart. Doom for low resolution sprites, and none of them are more like I forget because I used to edit Doom sprites. I wanna shit. I really wanna know now how big those sprites were because they're not set in length. They're all different sizes, but they're really tiny. They're
yeah, they're
tiny,
not
tiny,
huge
tiny,
sprites.
tiny, and in that sort of in those low res sort of sprites, they have amazing amount of detail for death animations, like the way Mancubus just splits and his rib cage starts sticking out,
Yeah.
or like the chain gun guy just like splits in two and stuff like that. It's and they have animations for just a death and like a rocket blowing them up for like for the monsters that are human looking that just jibbed like
Yeah,
if you hit your regular the zombie guy or the shotgun guy with the
with the black suit.
with the rocket it will just like eviscerate them into like just like a gooey pile of stuff.
I
So
think
good.
my brother and I were talking about this a fair while ago. Doom's got these really blocky sprites, but I think that's kind of what makes them creepier because a lot gets left up to the imagination, and you just see these guys, and there's like blood everywhere, and these 3 pixel ribs sticking out. I think that really sort of contributes to the atmosphere.
Mm.
I remember being freaked out by Doom guy's portrait when
Hmm.
he gets hurt and his
Yeah.
face is all bloody.
Oh
And
yeah,
he's
we haven't
freaking
mentioned that was the
out.
like. It was basically Wolfenstein did the same thing, but somehow
Sure.
Doom guy just looked realistically because he just glanced from side to side. He actually turned from the side that he was hurt
Yeah, he
on,
does. He looks around and when he
and like
gets hurt, his face kind of like goes,
he didn't just bleed or like sort of like look weird and beat up like BJ Blazkowicz did, but like it looked like he got like the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah,
Like
it
when
does.
he's
It
about
looks
to
like
die, like his nose is going, like he only has like
yeah.
one eye sticking out. He's just like kind of looking to the side and stuff like that. And he also has this different expressions like a smile or like a element like a surprise. Like wide-eyed open, like mouth open when he's like, huh?
Yeah.
When he just
Like, oh, I got hit with a rocket.
yeah,
Goddamn.
yeah, that's
And when you pick up the invulnerability, his face goes crazy.
yeah. Oh my god, it's great. And so Doom 2, more enemies, one more weapon, 32 really, really 30 really, really cool maps. All
And
sec-
32 silly ones.
Yeah, and two Wolfenstein ones.
Two Wolfenstein ones, which
Yeah,
I
which
don't
by
know
the
why
way,
they did that.
best gameplay, best my favorite multiplayer map 32. Just
Okay.
just kill.
I
Um,
think I think with Doom, I think it's really brave what they did, but also really smart. Instead of trying to redo everything, and they did the smart thing where they go, we've made this amazing engine, we've made this amazing system. Let's use what we've already made and just expand it and really focus on amazing,
mhm,
amazing levels. And the
absolutely.
levels really are
Levels
sensational.
are
Like,
more difficult yet better looking and just more engrossing. You have less confined spaces. Like Doom 1 once in a while, especially that feeling when you go from like once in a while you get stuck in a
yes,
closed space in Doom 1 and you're like, ah man, and especially now. Back in the day it wasn't as apparent, but now you're like, oh my god, now it's kind of like I'm for a second there I'm back in Wolfenstein for a little bit. Doom 2 had
that's a big
none
drop.
of that. Not to mention
No,
Doom 2 is supposed to take place on Earth. It looks nothing like Earth and
looks
they
nothing
never
like
really
Earth at all.
tried except for that one map.
The downtown map,
Yeah, but
yeah.
it looks silly, and I think the only addition for that the difference is there's water that does not hurt you. That's what Doom 2 brought to level design, which is
Yeah.
weird. But oh, the maps are amazing. I love those maps. They're
I think
so good.
I think a lot of times with the maps they just wanted to have fun, like you had stuff like tricking enemies into fighting each other. Like you would get faced with impossible odds and,
Yeah.
get the enemies to fight each other or they spring traps on you. There's all sorts of just fun things going on, that
Absolutely. Well, it all comes from like the first game was ready, and everybody played it, and they played it, and the what needed to be refined obviously came up from that. What everybody understood what because when Doom was getting made, I guess not. I don't think once they sort of figured out their artistic direction, that's where they went. But for a while, they were just experimenting with things. With Doom 2, it was clear what needed to be done for it to be fun, because it was basically the same technology and everything. Just improve. It was just an improved first game, basically. So
yeah.
here come more monsters, one better gun, because it's kind of funny now, but Doom has a perfect set of balanced weapons, and it really didn't need anything else.
I
You know,
think that's one point I was going to bring up, Doom really has the weapon like Doom really set the standard for what
yeah,
weapons you're going to find in a first person
absolutely.
shooter.
And
Once
there's a use for each and single one of them, and some people
that's
like
exactly right.
some people don't like others, but you can stick to whichever ones you like, and there's
I
plenty
think
of
it's kind of weird. My favorite when I was a kid was the chain gun, and now I probably use that the
nah, the
least.
least. I
Yeah.
never really did it. Just super shotgun all the way, and
I think Doom itself as an experience. I mean, Doom, the first one was pretty fast and pretty frantic and pretty cool, but Doom 2 takes that way, way, way to the next level.
yeah.
They didn't need more technology to make a more frantic, a more sort of
Oh my god! And some
immersive
levels are
experience.
just so simple but effective. Once in a while, I would like Doom 2 has some really complex levels.
Yes, it
And
really, really
yet it
does.
also has some really simple levels. Like all of a sudden you
The
find
first
yourself
level,
in map '07. You press the button, you come out of the box, and here's this field with like 4 elevated structures, and with
yeah,
mancubus on all of them.
and the
You have invisibility spheres and stuff. You kill them off, you press the switches, and just more and more monsters start. The map keeps opening up until more and
the
more
little
monsters
the
just
little
like
forget what they're called.
anacrotrons are they called?
That's the one. Yeah, that's
Yes,
the
just
one.
the spiders, mini spiders start coming in, and
They're
there's
everywhere.
and you just clear out that map and you're done. But it's such a fun map between the invisibility spheres and the mancubus that it just sort of starts shooting at you and stuff like that. Really, really cool design. Map 11. Map 14. I unfortunately, here's the thing. Grew up in Russia, didn't speak English, so I know that all those maps have actual names. Um, I don't know any of them, so
Okay, well that's fair.
so there's except for maybe tricks and traps
Tricks and Traps
the
is a
icon
great
of
level.
sin. Tricks and traps is actually really really cool. co-op level because
I can
you can
imagine.
really screw the other person over.
Yeah, man. Send all the barons of hell after him.
Yes, just there's those things where near the exit, the columns start dropping.
Yeah, they drop, and
So
you're
you
screwed if those columns drop.
yeah, pretty much. So you just run like hell to the to the exit switch before, and whoever, not only you know, because you play the co-op, there's always that thing in the end where who's gonna throw the exit switch.
Sure.
That's always that. No matter, even if you're not competitive in the game, it always becomes competitive when you're all running towards the exit switch. Not like it counts or anything, but you know that's a really good map, which is really kind of, you know, claustrophobic close quarters map, really.
Yeah,
Yet it
you
still
start in,
works so well, and it's such a weird design. Have those a central room with doors that lead to all kinds of different weird things.
yeah.
Yeah, really
I
cool.
think Sandy Peterson really sort of just sat down and said, "I want to have fun." I remember seeing, Matt Barton does his Matt Chat videos. Have you
Mm-hmm.
seen those?
Yes, I have. Oh my
He did.
God, I have. I just rewatched one recently with Sandy Peterson.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I
Did you
have.
see? Do you see him talking about Doom 2 and some of his ideas for level
Mm-hmm.
design?
Yes. And I
He
also
was
read the
talking.
book. I mean, Masters of Doom, and I just
Cool.
re-listened to it. Like, and by the way, anyone, Masters of Doom must read. Reads like a novel, all based on fact. And if you don't want to read, last year they did a really good audiobook that you can get at audible.com for a discount price of $3.99. Or if you listen to any podcast, not like this one, but the big one, the Audible always advertise you can sign up for a free trial, and you can get the book for absolutely free and
Excellent.
save yourself $20. Listen on your phone. It's read by Gordy from Stand By Me. Crap, what's his name? He's famous. I forget. I'm sorry. I'm
I don't.
sorry if you were listening for some reason.
Sorry, God.
I'm sorry.
From Stand By Me.
I'm sorry, Gordy, but the reading that he does is perfect for that book. It's so good, and it's such an emotional book. You really sort of go behind the scenes, and it's very, very factual. In fact, it got sued a few times
Good.
to
That's what I want from a book.
to remove certain information, but it's structured like a novel. It's not a not-fiction book. It's a fiction book, yet it's all based on fact, and it's really, really good. And also lets you really understand what went on behind the scenes of id in the early days, and then of course Iron Storm. It basically covers id in Iron Storm days, and it's excellent. Like, it doesn't. It's good to reread, good to re-listen. Really cool. Here's my
Cool.
unpaid commercial for Masters of Doom.
Good. But yeah, I think it really struck me how Sandy Peterson was talking about how he said, "Oh, my levels are never the prettiest ones, but I try to stick by certain design philosophies." And listening to his design philosophies, I find really inspiring. He has
Mm-hmm.
just really good ideas on how you should structure a level and what works in the eyes of a player. I mean, the guy's worked on some of the best games around, so
Oh yeah,
you know,
really
if
talented. I love
anyone's gonna
Sandy
have enough,
Peterson. He's a really
yeah,
cool guy. And of course, they brought in at that point American McGee.
American McGee. He wasn't a tester on the first Doom?
Something like that, and I just re-listened to it. I
Yeah,
should have known better, but he did a lot of levels for Ultimate Doom, which we have not covered yet. But
sure.
for Doom 2, it's basically that was a lot of his levels were there, and a lot of Sandy Peterson's levels in Doom 1 were based on unfinished levels uh,
By
from
Tom
by
Hall.
Tom Hall. So that's
Yeah.
probably where the biggest difference in between Doom 1 and Doom 2 happens.
Yes.
So yeah, so Doom 2. I mean, since it's basically the same game but better, there's nothing else left but to recommend it. Not to mention, but I love that title screen in the box.
Yes.
That
That was
that's
painted. That
yes,
was painted by the same guy that did the cover for Heretic and Diablo and all sorts of games. He's a pretty well-known artist. So
yeah, but they
yeah.
don't look as good as the Doom one.
No, of course not.
I
I
have that.
really.
I have that tattooed across my back in an instant. If I could
That's a
afford
big
it,
tattoo. Yeah, that's a big.
it's
That's a.
so good. Like
Yeah, I think. Do you like the Doom One box art? I
I,
like it,
I
but
do,
the
but
design
not,
just
but not as much as Doom
knowing
2.
it's cool.
Like Doom 2
Yeah,
just had something about, like Doom 1 had that thing. Again, it was more like, Doom 1 was like metal.
Yeah.
Here's that guy, Doom behind, demons crawling up, something like, yeah, metal stuff, kind of, we're all kids that grew up in the 80s sort of feel.
Yeah.
That Doom 2, to me, just has, like, more of, oh shit feel, kind of, you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
it's got a goddamn cyber
It's kind
demon
of
on
this
the front of it.
gigantic cyber demon, probably the most memorable monster from Doom. And not a
Absolutely.
new monster in Doom 2. Like, we knew what cyber demon was, so it just slapped him on the box. It wasn't anything new. And here's the Doom guy, this time without the gear.
Yeah.
Little, tiny in comparison. And Doom 2 and stuff like that. So yeah, Doom 2 to me has a better box and title screen. They're the same. So that design to
Good.
me,
I agree.
I like
I
that better.
absolutely agree.
Music too. Music, I like the music in Doom 2 better. I like everything in Doom 2 better.
Yeah, the music in Doom 2 is really catchy, and in a really fitting way.
And it also has like some of the levels like really use the quieter themes more. And multiplayer co-op in Doom 2 is more fun because the levels are more challenging. And there's that, and there's a big, gigantic, really difficult boss at the end. I mean, not difficult, but um,
Well,
just strange concept, I guess. But
which is a really awesome design, by the way, I have to say. I
yes,
really, really, really love that design. I want like a poster of just that on my wall because that is one of my favorite graphics. And you see it on the walls throughout Doom 2, and you're like, oh man, what's that? And you get to the
and you
end of
get
the thing, and you're like, holy
yeah,
crap.
the background thing. It was a really weird concept where games started doing afterwards, and Quake did that with that first boss, where you had to do something. You didn't have to kill the guy, rather you had to do something special.
Can I be honest? I really hate Quake's first boss. It's too easy. It's
It is too
kind of
easy, but it's cool
anticlimactic.
you had to do something special. I mean, what
Yeah.
what is the last boss any harder? No, in fact, it's actually
Mm,
easier. Just the point
yeah.
of getting to the teleporter. I mean, unless you really want to just start zapping it with all your weapons and spend an hour on it. But yeah, but like well, Icon of Sin is also really hard, especially in the harder levels, because and God forbid you get telefragged by one of those monsters that just teleports
Yeah.
inside of you, and you're like,
It's kind of it's a cheap death.
insta kill. You just have to
Mm.
remember what are those the projectiles, the skull spawning things. I forgot what the name. I used to remember the name of like every object in Doom. Not so much now. The official names. Um, but you have to remember where they land because they only land in a few spots.
Hmm.
And of course, once you get the few mancubus and things starting firing rockets at you while you're trying to get to the top, it's like you better save that invincibility sphere till the last second. By the way, the designs on those spheres,
Great.
I love those. Like that first
Yeah,
time
me
when you
too.
like go into the room and it's all dark and you see the blue one on the pedestal and stuff like it.
Yeah.
Just something about it. You're just like, it just
There's
looks
that face
so
there.
weird. They all have different faces on them, but the
Yeah.
blue one just had this weird sort of like almost expression. It's just the other ones have actual faces. Like the Mega Health has, like you can see the eyes and the mouth and everything, and it kind of looks
Yes.
like a weird nose. And Invincibility one has like red eyes and stuff like this. But the blue one just sounds. I don't know what it is. It's like a weird expression. It's like it's almost lost or something. You know what I'm saying? Just hollow
Okay.
eyes and like no mouth. And well, there is a mouth, but it's just like I don't know, something about it. I always like that for some reason. Just freaky stuff in
Yeah.
Doom 2.
Freaky stuff. I think they're really focused on just getting an art style that was freaky for everything.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
L-
so
Good.
Doom 2 recommended. I mean, there's not much really to say about it except for if
I get the
yeah.
I get the feeling that less people have played Doom 2 than played Doom because it wasn't shareware.
Really?
So, yeah, I think so. I know a lot of people that I know that have played Doom have never played Doom 2, and
Really?
it's a real shame because Doom 2 is absolutely
Yeah,
superior.
here's a public service announcement. If you have not played Doom, if somehow if you're one of those 5 people who listen to this podcast, five, I hope none, who we spend 10 minutes recommending Doom 1 to. If you're gonna pick that up, pick up Doom 2 too.
Yeah.
So it's very much worth it. And if you're one of those people that I were not aware of before that played Doom 1 but did not play Doom 2, you should do that too. And again, you can buy it and it's available on everything. So there is
Yeah,
that.
you can just jump on Steam or whatever and
Yeah.
grab yourself a copy. It's easy.
So we're gonna briefly cover Ultimate Doom.
Okay, we can do that.
Ultimate
That's a
Doom
good idea.
commercial release, fourth episode for the original Doom, designed by mostly American McGee.
Yeah.
Um, um, I don't know.
It's not as
Not
it's
as
not as
good.
good, I don't think.
Not as
No.
good. The levels don't feel that fun. I mean, they're very challenging actually. Like they're difficult,
Yeah.
but they don't feel. They don't have the same pace to them.
I think they missed the point where it it's frantic but still, you know, gives you time to think, and I think they just focused on throwing whatever at you.
Yeah,
Doesn't
yeah. It's doesn't. It's that one to me is not. Well, this is a version that you can currently pick up just about everywhere. But
Yeah.
but basically fourth episode for the original Doom. Nah, nah, and it adds the nightmare difficulty.
Yeah.
Which is something I don't know how people play on that. Nightmare difficulty is
I
um,
don't see how that's fun to
it's
anybody.
insane challenge because monsters respawn every 5 seconds.
I
Uh,
don't see how anyone would
and
find that
something
fun.
else also changes. I forget. Do they all have double health as well,
I can't remember. I honestly can't remember.
or do they do the double damage? Something doubles and they respawn. So game
Basically,
essentially becomes impossible. And now it's just like, oh, back in the day it was like I made it to the third level on Nightmare, which I don't think. Well, I'm just saying it was like a bragging thing, like oh I can beat X many levels on Nightmare.
mm.
Um, so yeah,
Probably the speed run scene finds that sort of thing fun. I
I
don't know.
guess, but wouldn't it
I'm
be
not really a
impossible to
hardcore.
play a speed run on a Nightmare mode? I don't know.
I don't,
It's
I
weird.
don't know. I don't find I'm not like a hardcore first person
Yeah.
shooter fan. I play all genres. So, I'll play on a difficulty that I find challenging
Well,
because
like
that's what's fun.
Doom, especially the first Doom. Doom is perfect on ultra violence.
Yeah.
Basically the well on the final for the first Doom and in Doom 2 second to last.
Yeah.
Basically that's will give you, especially in the later levels, will give you plenty of challenge, and it will not make original levels too easy. Because Doom's challenges mostly come from the amount of enemies.
Yeah, and
More higher difficulty, more enemies, and on the easiest difficulty, I think uh, monster's health is halved, might be, or
I
something like that. Something
something
changes.
like
So the parameter, one of the parameters for all the monsters or for you changes. I forget.
isn't
On
it
the
like a third or something like that? I don't know. I can't remember.
could be maybe something. So don't play in the easy. Why would you play in easy? You are a serious gamer. You person who is listening. So play it on something decent. Don't be a pussy.
Yeah.
That's all.
I play a lot of first person shooters, but I play a lot of every genre, so I don't consider myself a first person shooter, like a hardcore fanatic of
Mhm.
first person shooters. So I'll never play on nightmare difficulty because it just doesn't interest me. I've played RPGs on the hardest difficulty modes, but that's different because I'm a nerd.
So
Yeah.
Doom
So
is
Doom.
is that the end of Doom?
I think that's pretty much got Doom wrapped up,
Yeah, that's it.
which is cool.
We just
I
spent
think we've
we just
talked
spent
a lot about Doom.
an hour talking about Doom. I was like, we'll spend like
Well,
10 minutes talking about Doom. But yes, here it is.
easily one of the most important games ever, and we only spent
Yep.
an hour on it. That's
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah. I guess we could have. I mean, I can talk for like 3 hours about Doom, but actually, you know what? One thing about Doom though, I would like to mention. Here's because I have a very special relationship with Doom. Ever since I ever saw it and I had it, can say bought it because I didn't buy it till years later. It's been installed onto every single machine I've ever owned,
Oh wow, there you go.
and always has since '94. I have Doom and Doom 2 installed on everything, and I still pick it up and play it often. Let's say, well, lately less so, but at least once a year, probably more. The other day, because I was preparing for a video, so I decided to, because I play with source ports, obviously.
Sure.
So I installed them I installed the things in DOSBox, the vanilla Dooms, all of them, and I started out the first Doom and I adjusted the controls, shut off the music, and I adjusted it to keyboard and mouse controls in Doom. And I started up just to test out the controls. Just to test out the controls on a game that I know, just like the back of my hand. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a game I'm
Sure.
very familiar with. It's installed on everything I own. I just started up for like 5 seconds to check out if I need to adjust the controls or sensitivity in the DOS version. I ended up playing for 2 hours.
Excellent.
That's how good
Excellent.
Doom is. I've known it.
Yeah.
I know it so well. There's nothing new for me to discover in Doom. Yet it's still, even though it's been 20 years, right? 20 years of me playing that game and having it on everything. Yet it's still, after 20 years and thousands must have been of playthroughs, uh, it's so engrossing that it captured my attention for a couple of hours, even though I didn't even plan on it.
That's
So
good.
yeah,
That's
that's
cool.
Doom.
Yeah.
That's my best
That's
recommendation.
Doom.
That's what Doom means to me. It's that good. It's that good. I hardly ever games grab me so much. New ones, old ones, anything. Like it's. But Doom is one of those games, which is, why
It's a classic.
yeah, it's a classic and one of the best games ever for a reason.
Yeah.
That's the reason. It's an insanely good experience. I mean, are we gonna master levels? We play the master levels.
I haven't actually played the Master levels.
They're okay. I mean,
Okay.
they're that, and I think they're now free.
Okay. Doom has had so many level packs and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
released.
but
I
there's
just
only
find it all
official ones.
overwhelming.
The master
Yeah.
levels is the official one from id, and then you had the final Doom,
Yes.
two wads done by Team TNT, which they're really difficult, but
Okay.
I really really like them, and they're even better in co-op. They're really difficult, but they
Okay.
do
Cool.
have that flow. And now with Doom 3 BFG, you get that new wad that's done by somebody else. I forget death something death something and
Okay.
I forget what it's called, and I only played a few levels, and it's also supported by Z-Doom. I like it. I think it's a really solid WAD, except those first 3 levels that I've played. So
Okay. Cool.
there's that. Okay, so we're moving on. Already in 1994, there was an offshoot. A different company. It was Romero's baby. He wanted to sell off Doom Engine to other developers, and so
Sure.
1994 also seen the release of Heretic.
Yeah. Heretic was by Raven Software, who had previously made not first-person shooter, first-person role-playing games like Shadowcaster, which was fairly well known and pretty interesting.
Shadowcaster was
I
an
think,
interesting by how heavily modified the Wolf 3D engine was.
yeah, a very, very, very heavily modified.
Barely recognizable anymore.
Yeah, that's right. You hardly notice it as the same engine. But yeah, so Heretic is really a natural evolution of this into the Doom engine, I think. But turning it more into a first-person shooter and being an exact clone of Doom with different graphics.
Yeah, here's my thing with Heretic, and I don't know if I'm gonna get some flack for this or anything. You might as well hashtag it classic game bashing. I can't stand it. Here's my thing.
Really?
It bores me to death.
Oh,
Here's the thing
really?
about Heretic. Heretic is basically medieval Doom. So much so that it's
Yeah.
exact. Like, the weapons are basically the same. The enemies all know, like, 2 of them fly. A couple of them just shoot. And a few of them have projectiles. And it's all just medieval themed Doom. Like, almost to the point where it's just almost a total conversion. It doesn't even feel any different.
When you look at the weapons, they are so exactly the same that you could
Exactly.
almost,
It's just a
yeah.
reskin. Yeah, it could have
You've
as
got,
well been like just a total conversion or something, like an
yeah.
official
You've got,
add-on or something. It's so weird how close it is to Doom, how
it really is.
little it have changed, and that's one of my problems with. My other problem with it is something got lost for me. Like, Doom had this thing where it's like, I think Chris Franklin brought this up. He called this kinesthetically pleasing. But
Okay.
but but it is. A demon runs up to you, you blast a super shotgun in its face, and it flies off with the sound and the momentum that it has going. Something about this just feels satisfying. To this day, you just run in, right, and you just blast a super shotgun into anything, and it's immediately satisfying something really primal in you, right?
Yeah, I
Just
think even the first shotgun from the first game
yes,
is
absolutely.
has that
Just
feeling.
something
It's a great
about it.
feeling.
To me, none of the weapons in Heretic feel that much or feel
I
that
think
way, or none of the monsters are interesting enough for me to to be that sort of frightened or something. Just basically, it's just like Doom, only not as good. That's what it is for me.
Okay, I think one thing, well, I remember when I first started playing Heretic, I remember this really clearly, and I started playing and I was like, oh, cool, it's just like Doom, but what really stuck out for me is how colorful everything was. I was like, man, it's like bright blue and it's bright green and
Yeah,
it's all these bright. I'm like, man, this isn't what first person shooters are about. I mean, I like Heretic, don't get me wrong, I really like
and some
Heretic.
people really, really love it too. Some people like
Yeah, they
love
do.
Heretic and adore it, and I can't. Following up Doom for me, I was just like Doom just wins, and like the way I would imagine a medieval Doom would probably be a little bit different, a lot darker, and probably a lot. I mean, it's medieval, so like, why don't make it like? I also, Heretic is not really that gory or anything, and I would think they would go into like a slightly different maybe direction. I don't understand. I don't know.
I
Maybe
think
it's just me.
a lot of the problems with the weapons I find why they don't feel so good is there's like you look at the weapons instead of the pistol now you have like this wand that shoots
Yeah,
little sparks
yeah.
and it's it's replaced the shotgun with this crossbow and
Crossbow.
I think the
Yeah.
biggest
Oh.
problem with the crossbow is that the shotgun is an instant hit weapon. You pull the trigger, you see this,
Mm-hmm.
you see where it hits straight away. Whereas with the crossbow, it launches projectiles.
Mm-hmm.
With you get this. My least favorite weapon, the chain gun, is replaced with my least favorite weapon, the claw, which looks absolutely fucking
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's like
I hate that
zzz, like
weapon.
what's that? What is that?
And
Who
it
who
just looks
thought of
stupid. Why
that?
have I got a claw on my hand? If I had a claw on my hand, shouldn't I be tearing people's faces off instead
Yeah,
of
it's
like shooting little sparks at them?
yeah.
And then you get the Phoenix rod, which is like a weird wand that shoots really slow rockets. And then you get a mace. When I got the mace first, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be able to smash people in the face finally. No, you do not do that at all. You shoot weird balls from it,
Yes.
from a mace. What the hell?
Yeah,
The only
it's
cool weapon really is the necromancer's gloves you pick up that shoot weird green energy. They look pretty cool.
yeah, I guess.
But yeah, but yeah, I agree that Heretic is not as good as
I
Doom.
mean,
Like I
it's
said,
a
I really
solid shooter, I guess. Something
yeah
about the maps still rubs me the wrong way. I don't understand. Like, I can't really put this in words. It's just all. I think at the time I was just so disappointed by it not stacking up to Doom exactly. I know a
yeah
lot of people don't feel that way, but I do. And to me, that's
okay.
why Heretic always sort of lost out. I don't even. It had the map pack. I'm looking here. It says
Serpent
Shadow of
Riders
the Serpent Riders.
Shadow of the Serpent Riders was
Is
a
it
sort of
is it good?
it was a free add-on.
Oh, was
Yeah,
it free? I've never played
it
that.
was they sort of they sort of they did the two sort of new chapters for free, and then you bought if you bought Heretic, you basically bought
Hmm.
Heretic Shadow of the Serpent Riders. So that's what you bought instead of just Heretic. You bought that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So anything
Um,
else you want to add? Because for me, medieval Doom
there's
and not as good. That's all. It's still
there's a couple of
solid, but that's
things.
it.
I think there's a couple of things that are added that we could talk about. It
Mhm.
added the ability to fly.
Mhm.
It added the ability to look up and down, which was interesting.
Well, I mean, and it also had one thing that Doom Engine always had built in but never used. It had the transparent enemies, which
Yes,
in Doom we forgot to mention. They're like Predator kind of thing. They're just like
yes,
fuzzy,
they are.
the fuzzy invisible demons. But in Heretic they use that function. It was always there. If you look at Doom source code, it was always there to make things sort of half ghostly
Sure.
sort of things. And up and down, it was going on around that time. So things were happening where they're just that fake looking up and down and
It looks really weird. It stretches everything.
Well, all it does is just renders things vertical again. So why it looks weird is because all the lines, because it's a sector 2.5D engine basically, it's all the lines are vertical. So that's not how it looks. That's not how it works when you
How
look
it's
up
meant
or
to look.
down. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's the reason why it's this weird effect. Because like all the lines are still rendered vertically, yet you just get a little bit of the viewport up and down. So it looks really really weird.
Yeah. But yeah, Heretic also adds an inventory. So, instead of
Yes.
just picking up a thing and you use it straight away, you can choose when to use it, which is an interesting thing. You get the morph ovum, which is fun because you can turn your enemies into chickens.
Hmm.
So yeah, it adds a little bit, but as you say, it's mostly Doom with different graphics and not as good. I like Heretic, I'll say that, but Doom's better by far.
Yeah. Well, it all paved
And s-
it all paved the way for me. Heretic paved the way to a better game.
It really did.
That followed the next year, and
Let's move on
yeah,
to
to Hexen Beyond the Heretic,
yes.
which is a really really cool game, and what really Heretic should have been.
It really is. It's sort of I think they sort of found their feet and they're like, hang on a minute, we're making a medieval game. We should make this dark, we should make this gritty, and we should make this kind of yeah, more like an adventure.
Yeah, like what Hexen, well, if you just look at maybe like 30 seconds of gameplay from it, might just look like a medieval Doom or something like Heretic. In reality, is very, 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 very different from
It's
Doom,
not.
and that's
Yeah,
what I like about it.
I agree.
Right in the beginning, you're presented with a choice of several characters with different stats, which are
Yeah.
radically different from each other.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think they were trying to turn it not trying to turn it into a role-playing game, but they were focusing more on that sort of
it
experience.
was like more of like
Where,
let's mix that with like a hack and slash thingy.
yeah,
And I think
sure.
that's they pulled that off rather successfully. Actually, it has
They
that
really did.
feel of like in Eye of the Beholder. You go around, you go around. It's actually more like of the Beholder because I'm gonna bring that up. That most people have a problem, and so do I, with it being too complicated at times.
It's very complicated. I
Very
like that about
very mazy. I know you do. Uh,
it.
but but like in Eye of the Beholder, you had the same thing. You just run down the corridor, pressing 50 buttons until a door opens. Hexen is kind of like the same. You go around maps looking for a switch that opens something at a completely different map, and not like you would know it would. But so with three characters, each one of them has only a couple of weapons.
I
Um,
think you get four weapons per character. You've
uh,
got a
y-
warrior, a
y-
priest, and a wizard,
yes.
basically.
Uh,
Yeah, so you got a sort of real combat guy, and then a guy that you sort of keep your range and shoot from a distance, and then
mhm.
a guy in between.
And all of them have, of course, like in proper RPG, slightly different stats. So
Yeah,
like the mage will, of course, the dive first because he has the lowest in health, but also one of the fastest. And the sort of the warrior is slower, but he can punch everybody to death basically.
yeah,
Um,
which is excellent.
and then, of
I remember,
course, the magic for the other
yes,
characters, which that inventory idea from Heretic now is really put to good use.
it really is.
Because you have a pretty just for weapons. Is it even four? Or is it three?
I think it's four. I'm
Okay,
sure
maybe
it's
four. It's
four.
been a while, but all like
Yeah,
people
because
like
you find three over the course of your adventure.
right. So it's like okay.
I think, do you?
So yeah okay. I was thinking that. So but so yeah, four weapons not so much, especially comparing to Doom's
Nine.
nine. Okay, nine.
Does that make
So
yeah.
yeah, I guess. I was thinking about. So yeah, four weapons doesn't seem that much, but now you have magic and inventory items coming in, which can be used very effectively in the completely different and unpredictable effects
Yeah, I
on
like.
the enemies. It's great.
I think they replaced the morph oven with the porculator, which turns your enemies into pig. I just love the
Pigs.
name porculator. That's a great name.
Yes. Also, this time things got slightly less bright colory
Yeah, that's really
and
quite
really the
fresh.
sort of ambient, like the monster designs, like the first, like the two-headed monster with the uh, uh and
With the spike club
levels
thing.
got really cool with like fences and trees that are like blowing leaves and like weird things, lots of traps all over the place.
Lots of traps. You are going to get caught in
Oh yeah,
traps.
absolutely. Save all the time.
Yeah.
And levels also became big. You go through those tiny passages and you come out on the other side, and there's like a whole fortress somewhere that you go inside, and like you go into dark caves with like stalactites, and it's the environments were really really varied and very kind of interactive.
They were. There's a lot of stuff. They're very dynamic levels. A lot of stuff going. There'll be bits where you have to figure out that you have to break your way through a stand of trees, or
Yep,
smash your way through a window.
yep,
They
that's
use
right.
this sort of stuff a lot. I think another thing that bears bringing up is that Hexen moved from the linear sort of progressing from level to level through a chapter to a
The
hub world
hub level,
design.
which also Doom originally was supposed to be a hub level game and just wasn't.
Okay.
So that was not an improvement on the engine. However, there's a couple improvements on the engine technically. in Hexen.
Yes.
One of them is a scripting system for the maps, which is how you set off different states and different maps, and it actually opens doors and moves sections around, the whole sections of a map around in those scripts, which before in the Doom map editor was just basic height and attach it to a switch and work with your standard values for whatever the light blinking and whatnot. Here the level designer could have a little bit more, but the biggest addition, which I always thought was the biggest addition, only recently looked up how it was done, and was move-in sectors, right? And it's the first time in the Doom engine we can have move-in sectors, which allowed for things not just moving up and down like an elevator, but actually doors opening side like. And I thought that was really, really cool until
they cheated that, didn't they?
Yes, I just looked that up like a couple of months ago, and basically all those elements, the engine is so not made to render those things. They were actually placed outside the map. They're technically not even there. And what you did is you put invisible objects for collisions in your maps, and then would attach like the same. They had to be also perfectly equal to the things that you were about to move, and you attach special values to those sectors, and will just render them on top of your stuff, so you can have collision. Basically, it was just fake, which is why I guess they're so rarely used in Hexen. I mean, very effectively, but it's just like doors and stuff like this. And I was like, but now that I looked it up, and I was like, what a pain in the ass. It was definitely not made to be rendered in that engine, and I can see how they just wanted some pretty effect, basically, and that's how they got around it. I mean, it works, because you never really seen that in Doom games, even in Heretic, where it's like everything's supposed to be medieval and stuff. Everything just sort of scrolls up and down, and you're like, well, that's weird, but
okay. Heretic never really has interesting set pieces or level design.
No, but Hexen sure as hell does. Just the first level alone is.
Man, Hexen has the most sort of cinematic for that time. The most cinematic levels, like the most. There's just these set pieces. You go into this huge cathedral with like stained glass
they
windows.
Feel like environments, like real environments, and not just like you always go from like outdoors to indoors. There's always sense of space, and like you go into a cave and like it starts like earth shakes and just everything collapses.
Yeah, the ice things are like collapsing all around you. And Hexen added jumping, so there was bits where you like you really
you had to you have to hop a little.
Yeah, we forgot to mention in Heretic that they added wind that could blow you around a little bit.
Which was a pain. Right. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
But so Hexen, there's some really, really memorable set pieces in Hexen for me. And when I pick up the game and I start playing it, I love running through these amazing environments. I just remember being like playing Hexen for the first time. Do you remember playing Hexen for the first time?
Yes, I do.
I obviously, being a kid, I picked a warrior, and I just remember.
I still pick the warrior, even though I really shouldn't. Of course. I don't know. I think it's better with like the in between class, which you get the magic and the speed basically.
Yeah, I think the priest is the guy that gets the best final.
Well, it's always like that. Yeah, like in RPG games, the sort of in between character, you sort of get the best of both worlds, sort of thing.
Which is, I love the design of that sword that he gets to. That's amazing. So, yeah, but is it the priest that gets the sword? I think so.
Yes.
I haven't. Yeah, but I love being a kid and like just from Heretic where I have a wand, I'm shooting little zappy spells out of a wand. Suddenly I'm a fighter and I'm punching these guys in the face and like running away from in this big gloomy cathedral in the very first level, and then you run up this big tall tower and you like punch the bell. It was just sensational, and there's leaves falling down. Considering this is id Tech 1, I was just like blown away. Doom was a great game for the time, but it had none of this stuff in it,
No, Hexen really, really tried to do something different and did. Yeah. And my only problem with playing Hexen now is because it tries so much to be different. The difficulty curve is really up there. It doesn't take long before you're lost somewhere and you don't know what to do because you probably missed something.
I
And
still get stuck in hexen, but
yeah, it's
I don't mind that.
difficult. I mean, I do now. I mean, back in the day, it was very interesting and everything. Now it's just more annoying when you miss stuff because there's some stuff in there which is pretty easy to miss. Oh, shit! I missed a hidden switch, and here we go. Now I have to backtrack through this whole gigantic level again, which I now
Mm.
cleared and stuff like that.
I
So
think I once lost 2 hours from a single switch
yeah,
in
that's what
hexen, but
happens.
I'm a dungeon crawling kind of guy. I love that sort of stuff. So yeah, but yeah, so I think I think if you can tolerate that sort of thing, Hexen is definitely worth a look. Play with the auto map. Use the auto map a lot
Yes, and
because you
save
will get
save very often because you will
saved very
die.
often. Yeah, you'll die. Man, Hexen loves killing you in traps and enemies coming out from nowhere, and has just really a really cool aesthetic. The music is better than Heretic, the designs are better than Heretic. It's
Hmm.
funny to think that this is the same people that made Heretic,
Yeah.
which was a fairly uninspired Doom clone, and all of a sudden they went, "Hey, let's take this to the next level." They sort of did with Hexen with the Doom engine what Shadowcaster did with the Wolf 3D engine. They made it almost completely unrecognizable.
By all means recommended. Be aware that it's tough,
It's tough. It's
but
not an easy game, but it's very rewarding to play through if you know.
there's also an expansion before we
Yeah.
segue. There's this expansion which is also pretty good and also tough. I
It
think
adds
I think
it
I have it
adds
somewhere.
nothing new. It
Yeah,
adds
it's
nothing
basically a
new. Just
map
lots of
pack,
people to fight.
but yeah, there's that. It's still decent enough for you to play through if you're into
Sure.
Hexen. But so we thought Hexen squeezed everything out of the Doom engine by having all those new things in it and being different and stuff. Until in 1996, when nobody gave a shit about Doom anymore, because Quake and Duke Nukem 3D came out and all this other, Bethesda had the Future Shock and Skynet, which were full 3D. People were going for full 3D. So 1996,
Yeah.
very under the radar. Rogue Entertainment.
It was Rogue. It was originally Cygnus, the guys that made
Oh,
Raptor Call of
is it?
Shadows. Yeah, well, it was the designer moved from Cygnus to Rogue.
Really? I did not know
Yeah,
that. Well,
there you go.
there's this tiny little game called Strife is released.
Yeah.
Nobody buys it and it dies.
It was released in that blank space between Duke Nukem 3D and Quake, which are like the two biggest shooters of like
And
the
not just
last
that, but
4
that
years,
is
you know?
right in the midst of a technology chase. So
Yeah.
a game
Yeah.
from with the engine from 3 years ago,
Yeah.
yeah, people didn't give it, a minute of their time.
And I
But
think
if they had,
oh man.
Strife is something fucking special.
I think it's probably blasphemy to say this, but I think Strife is probably my favorite Doom Engine game just because of how big in ambition it was.
Yeah, Strife
You
is an
know,
incredibly ambitious game.
yeah.
And it's really, really weird. I don't know. I don't know if it was in development loan, like why they settled on Doom Engine
I have no
exactly.
idea. I
Because
have
in a
no
way,
idea.
it even kind of hurts it slightly. I mean, it really doesn't. But at the same
I
time,
think I
you
think it probably. I think
like it's
we've
perfect
talked
the
about.
way it is. Yeah, we did. But like, has it been made on a more engine that was more suitable for things that it was trying to do? Would be even a better game.
Yeah,
Which Strife is a very solid game. That's the thing. Before
it
anything
is,
else, Strife is well worth playing, and it plays really well to this
and
day.
it plays just like Doom,
It plays
which
just
is
like Doom and shooting things,
yeah,
and it adds so much. Well, so you're in this world uh, where something happened. There's this comic book opening cutscene.
yeah.
Something something, and you're
The
basically
order, the
you're basically
order,
a guy
sort of.
who's fighting against the order.
Yeah,
And right in the beginning of the game, you quickly find out that you can talk to characters.
yes.
You come up to them, and you see their portraits, and you have actual conversational choices.
Dialogue options, just like in an adventure game or an
And
RPG.
and if you have the CD version of Strife, they even say something with
They
a
have voices. They have voice acting,
voicing
man.
for everything,
Yeah.
for all the things. So, and slightly moving past the first area, not only you realize you can talk to characters, you also realize that not everybody is hostile.
Yes.
Um,
In fact, they actually warn you about this.
yeah, and if you try to shoot somebody, you instantly get you basically get shot by a bunch of guards. So you were
Yeah,
like
it actually
cautious.
has an alarm system,
Yeah,
which is pretty
you were
amazing.
very cautious, and you realize that you're in this little sort of village kind of situation where there's a tavern, there's a couple of shops, there's a few locked doors, there's a big important building that you can't go into, and very quickly there's a guy there who asks you to steal something for him. And that's when you realize that the game is very, very different. Especially if you try to go in and actually steal the thing that he asked you for. Because
Yeah.
he basically sets you up. And it's when you realize that maybe this is not the way to play this game.
It's funny because one of the taglines for the game was "Trust no one." There was one that was, I think, "Quest for the Sigil,"
That's the
and the other
most
one was
one,
"Trust
yeah.
no one," and they really reinforced that straight away.
Yes, they do. So, and right there you realize how different it is with this. And before long, you sort of discover the resistance
Yes.
that puts a computer, a navigator with a nice female voice.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's the story goes in Strife that the Order have taken all the women away, and so the last remaining women got sort of buried deep in underground in like these secret locations. So one of the last women on Earth is Blackbird, who's the sort of she's your mission control. She
mm-hmm,
tells you what to do, and yeah,
mm-hmm.
she's your little company on your
Yes,
way through the game.
and then
And
it all works
I
into the story very well
Yeah,
and
I
stuff like
really,
that.
really like this feature. You don't realize how lonely an experience a first-person shooter was until you played Strife, and
Yeah,
all
she
of a
talks a
sudden
lot too.
she does.
She's got a
She,
lot to say about very many different situations. It's really, really
yeah,
cool. And people's
it's
got a
kind of
lot to
cute
say
because
too. Like
she kind
everyone's
of
got
jokes.
a lot to say in Strife. In a game that's made
Yeah, they
on
do.
Doom Engine, people all of a sudden talk and they talk at length.
They
And then you
do.
have all those different decisions to make. You can join them. I mean, it's still kind of linear, but you have this
There's
good.
three different endings, so it's
Yeah, but
but they you
which
do
ones do
sort
you
of
really
play pretty
want?
much the
You know what
same
I'm
way.
saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
and then before long, right, almost in the beginning of the game, that important building where you possibly stole the chalice from, um, you storm it with friendly units, and
Yeah, allied
there's this
soldiers.
big robots that shoot fire and shit like that, and it happens relatively early in the game, uh, and
It's about a third of the way through, I think, or
all of
something like
it
that.
is really, really cool.
Yeah.
It looks weird because it's all in the Doom engine, but that thing squeezed out. I mean, your companions, you have companion robots, you have talking, you have. Do you have looking up and down stuff? Yes, you do, because you have to disable those alarms, right? Do you
Yeah,
have
you
looking
have
up and down?
jumping.
You have
You have
jumping, of course,
yeah.
and of course you have
All the
the
you have a hub-based world.
stealth kills, which
Yeah.
stealth kills are kind of weird.
It
It's
feels kind
just
of tacked on, but
yeah,
you've got a
but you
crossbow that you get right near the start, and you get two different ammo types for it. You can actually choose the different ammo for a couple of different guns.
hmm
You can choose between electro bolts and poison bolts. And if you don't alarm anybody, you can quite happily walk around an enemy base, and stay out of sight and shoot poison bolts at people
hmm
and silently take out almost a whole base of bad
yeah,
guys
it doesn't make any
before raising
sense,
them.
but it works.
And it felt great at the time because
Yeah,
it
hell
suddenly
yes.
you had options of how you want to play.
hmm
This was kind of it was really pushing boundaries that hadn't much been pushed at that point.
Yeah, it's very sad that this game still to this day, it's nobody knows it exists, and it's very overlooked. And it really tried to give you a completely different experience. Like Hexen moved into this whole RPG territory, Strife just moved into the believable open world territory.
Yeah.
Like
And it
when they clear out, when you first go to like Rebel base, you can see it's a real base. They have like bunk bed, well not bunk beds, just beds and different sort of things, and they have the map room and stuff like this. And then when they eventually clear out, you can still go visit that place that's been
You
like
can go back there, yeah.
abandoned, and it's abandoned, and there's
That
nothing
blew me
there.
away. There's
Yeah,
rats that follow you around. It's insane how
yeah,
much how unnecessary detail they put in there. They could have just taken all the character sprites out and
yeah.
left it like that.
Yeah, no, it's all very, very cool. They actually do pull off, as ridiculous as it sounds, in an engine that's so primitive, but it was by 1996 standards for sure. they really pull off a complete world in that game. Somehow they just managed to stretch that engine just enough without slopes, without any of those things that we think need to make realistic environments. And Doom never depicted urban environments really, because it really wasn't
No.
made for that. So and Hexen had those. I mean, Hexen had the cathedrals and everything, but it was still like sort of fantasy setting. All of a sudden, Strife comes with those like really sort of I don't know, sci-fi post-apocalyptic kind of. I mean, it doesn't really look like a post-apocalyptic world either.
Not at all.
It looks different, but it looks like I don't know. I don't really know how to describe that. It's
I always think of it as like religious post-apocalyptica.
yeah, kind of like that. And I also like all the character sprites and stuff, the human sprites and stuff. They look
I think
really neat.
they're very low res. That's why I think they're lower res than Doom sprites, to be honest.
I
But
think they're exactly the same. It just
okay.
yeah, it just
It just because it was years later, it probably
yeah,
struck.
it stands out more. Plus, they're
Yeah.
now they're not those weird demons that you can sort of your imagination can fill in the blanks. Now they're humans in robes, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, I can see that person has no eyes, or no
They're
mouth.
just this blob of pixels for a face. But yeah,
But you can
Strife.
tell like a shopkeep was a guy with a beard, and he waved his
Yeah.
arms around and stuff like this. So it was cool, and they all had portraits and stuff to say. So
They've got this really neat comic book sort of
Mhm.
art for the portraits.
and the cutscenes.
Yeah, and for the cutscenes. And there's some pretty extended cutscenes, you know.
hmm
The first time you get the sigil,
hmm
when you get the very first part of the sigil is kind of this like ultra weapon of the game that isn't very good, but you have to use it to fight bosses or you can't kill them. But other than that, you don't really have to use it.
Right.
And um, when you first get the first part of it, the story really starts to expand upon itself, and you start playing the game proper, like the story proper. And they really tried to write a plot,
hmm
it was one of the very early first person shooters where the focus was on plot.
hmm
They
Absolutely.
actually they have a
Yeah.
genuine story, there's betrayal, there's all this sort of stuff. It's great.
And of course, you've mentioned the three different endings, although the game is pretty much the same.
I think
Uh,
you do boss fights in two different orders, and that's pretty
yeah,
much it.
but it's still
Yeah.
like it's cool what that game did, and it's especially cool that this game achieved all that with the technology that it had, and that's why it's such a real shame that to this day nobody knows it exists.
Nobody. Well, you mentioned Strife, and you always go, "Oh yeah, I played the demo of that," but nobody has it.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's nobody ever bought it because it just happened to come out at the
just the wrong.
wrong time when people were concerned with technology, like they aren't now. Uh,
Yeah.
it was that very specific moment in time where people were like internet, 3D, Windows, hardware
Yeah.
acceleration, and you know what? Strife had none of those things, and who gave a shit about a believable world in a first-person shooter? People didn't even think that was sort of possible until a couple of years later, Half-Life comes out,
Yeah.
and people are like, oh look, there's actually a believable joined experience instead of maps. But yet Strife did not what Half-Life did, but Strife did
But something different.
an
Yeah.
idea. Strife had its own idea of a world within the first person shooter, and it accomplished it. Like that's what it was.
I
So
think I think something that's kind of weird with Strife is, people overlooked it because it wasn't ambitious in terms of graphics, but it was probably, if not more ambitious, then at least as ambitious as games like Quake and
oh, of
Duke Nukem
course.
3D in
Well,
terms of
I'd
what it was
say
trying to do.
I'd say more.
Yeah,
Because still Duke Nukem 3D and Quake. Well, Quake was ambitious in technology. Duke Nukem 3.
Quake plays just like Doom,
I love
pretty
Quake.
much.
I really
I
like
love
Quake.
Quake.
As ugly as it is, I love it and I adore it. Strife is more ambitious in design than either Duke
Yes,
Nukem 3D
definitely.
or Quake for that matter. And it works. It works perfectly. I would recommend play the demo, of course, and I think Z Doom also supports Strife. It has been for a few years.
Okay, cool.
Um,
I think if I was to pick any points with Strife, that would probably, be lesser points, is like Hexen with the hub-based world, it can
yes.
get kind of mazy and you can get kind of lost, which a lot of people, that's not their thing. And if that's not your thing,
It's not my thing.
s- it's probably Strife is probably going to annoy you on that front. It's not as bad as Hexen, but there's definitely points
No,
where you're running
which is what
around.
I'm saying. Strife to me is very. It's Hexen. I get frustrated. Strife not so much
Okay,
because
that's
Strife has a lot more other things going for it. So I would recommend Strife. Just get Strife if you can buy it. Uh, in any shape or form that you can, and then sell it.
yeah,
Like recommend it to all your friends. If you're a retro PC
absolutely.
gamer, that's one of those hidden gems that no literally it's weird because you go looking for games made there's not that many games made using the Doom engine.
There's
It's not
very
it's not
few.
build
Yeah,
it's not build or like whatever, but
yeah.
Strife is one of them, yet still people seem to just not know about it. They've seen the name. A lot of people are like, oh, I've seen Strife, like I've
Yeah,
seen I've seen the logo, but nobody actually played the full game like ever. Very underrated. So yeah,
you and I did.
yeah,
That's
thank
what matters.
God,
And
and
yeah, and
we're pushing
I,
it on people actively over the last couple of years. But
it's good. Yeah,
yeah,
it's got a great story to play through. It's got a great ending. I've felt great when I finished Strife. There's the story really resolves itself quite nicely. For a first-person shooter in 1996, it's a great game. Do you like the last bit, the very last bit where you're running around the factory? Because I don't like that bit at all.
I don't mind that because
Uh,
I mean, it is a rare last bit, so
yeah, that felt
it's
kind of like they were trying to drag the game out longer than it
yeah,
really needed
yeah,
to be.
and you know what? It's fine. To me, Strife is like that's the thing. That's the thing with me. Like I always do like classic game bashing where I just nitpick a few things about the great game and I just hate on it. But it works
Sure.
the other way around for me, where even if the game is not perfect, and Strife is not one of those games, but I will defend quite a few games that are not very good just because they have unique features that I happen
Oh
to
yeah.
like a lot. So for me, in case with Strife, a few shortcomings that it has, and I will be honest with it, Strife has very few shortcomings because
It very
we
much
now
does.
moved on to that point from that point when graphics mattered. So graphics does not matter anymore, and you take that away, Strive's got a lot going for it. So yeah, nothing about Strive really annoys me that much that I will be like, maybe not. Like Strive, I will recommend always, always, and to everyone. It's really cool.
I th I think the best thing about Strife is you've got this 1996 game, and yet all of the current industry buzzwords they get shoehorned into all of the press releases and are never really that accurate. You've got like
Right.
open world,
Yes.
sort of non-linear story, choose your own way of playing. All this sort of stuff is relevant to a 1996 shooter.
Mm-hmm.
It still blows me away how much ambition
Yes.
they
And
had,
yeah,
I should say. And
and they pulled it off. That's the biggest thing. Like we were discussing Tech War on the other podcast, and it was an interesting design, but
yeah,
look what
they had
happened.
a really ambitious design, but they
Yeah,
just it
and
was
they had the
shit.
better technology, and they turned out
Yeah,
it turned out into unplayable game. Now Strife, on the other hand, had an
extremely
inferior
playable.
graphical technology, but it's a really solid game. So
It's supreme. It plays just like Doom to the point where my brother had never seen Strife or never heard of Strife or anything like that, and one day came across me playing Strife and goes, "Oh, hey, that's the Doom engine." After 2 seconds of watching me
yes,
run, despite
mm-hmm.
how fast I ran.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely,
the
yeah.
saddest thing about Strife, I would say, is that it's the only Doom engine game that they never even attempted a sequel for. Even Hacks had a sequel worked on, and Chex Quest got sequels. So it's the only one that never got a sequel in any way, shape, or form or consideration. What a shame.
That's a good. Can we use that as a segue?
We absolutely are going to use it
And
as a segue.
speaking of Chex Quest, we don't even have to move anywhere because 1996
Here we are.
had another rather unique situation happen. That was back in the day when you can still find toys in your cereal.
Yeah.
Before it was, mail 55 things or a download code or whatever. When it was still legal well, at least in the United States too. I don't know if
Yeah, we still had
is it.
toys and we had
We don't.
prizes in our
It's
city.
illegal for us to put stuff into edible stuff because somebody's gonna eat a CD while they're eating cereal.
Well,
Uh,
people are pretty dumb. I can
yeah,
understand.
yeah. So 1996, when it was still legal in America to put stuff inside boxes of cereal, many people could buy Chex cereal, which was highly advertised around that time because of that. It came with a total conversion, standalone total conversion of Doom,
It absolutely did.
based on Chex cereal. And it is just as ridiculous as it sounds. However, it was actually a rather well-made product.
I I have to say this. I've played Chex Quest, and I've never eaten Chex cereal, so I do not endorse Chex cereal
I
in
don't
any
like
way, shape, or
I
form.
don't like cereal, period. So
Okay, well, uh, compared to every other prize I've got in a packet of cereal,
yeah,
Chex Quest kicks
yeah, oh,
ass,
of
man.
course.
Like, oh man, Chex Quest is it's amazing because it's the first one especially is really simple and really easy, but man, it's a game made for kids. And
Yes.
it plays, I think
It's
the
Doom.
best thing,
Somebody was just
yeah,
like, let's
it's
take Doom
Doom.
and make game for kids out of it.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah, and it's kind of silly. I mean, they replaced enemies dying with getting warped to another
I
dimension.
don't care, you have a power spoon.
Yeah, man, and a power spork.
And everything is gooey, and you eat
Yeah,
fruit, and especially in Chex Quest 1 is all those just gigantic boxy levels. Where it's
yeah.
just like
It's
open rooms and square things, like boxes and boxes, and sound effects are great. The music is like cheery, and you just go around just like using your
just spooning
spoons to,
enemies.
just get rid of all those enemies. And they're all the art is really cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's
Like it's
quite
all
cute.
like blue and green, and the monsters look look sort of cute.
They're these globby, green, slimy, kind
Yeah,
of
and like
cranky creatures.
the flying ones that
Yeah, they're a pain in the ass, like old flying enemies. But yeah, it's amazing that they were like, man, what can we give kids? Let's give them Doom that their
Doom.
parents will let them play.
Yeah, everyone's like the sound effects are great. That's all you ever
Exactly.
hear from that Doom. Like you play it every 5 seconds.
That's a very very good impersonation of the
Because I just
Shakespeare.
played it yesterday.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, so no, I think when you look at like I said, of all the prizes that I've ever seen from cereal boxes, Chex Quest
Hell
is
yeah. To this day,
above
I
the
don't think you
yeah,
can
man.
top that. First person shooter for kids that didn't. How have you? Anybody else, if you've ever played any 3D first person shooter for kids, you know that
They
they
suck.
suck.
They suck
They suck, they
so
suck.
badly.
Chex Quest does not suck. Why? Because it's Doom.
Yeah, man, and it plays just like Doom. Like it's like Heretic. It's that close a copy that it's
Yeah,
just
pretty
like that.
much. Everything is replaced. You know, text is family friendly, and there's only a few levels.
There's five, I think.
5 in the first, and then of course the second one you could download for free.
Yes,
And
you could.
second one has more challenging levels that are less boxy.
Does it still have five levels?
I don't know.
I think it still have five, but they're much more they're much different. They're like they've changed. They've actually learned how to design a level.
Yeah, like at
But
first
yeah,
you can tell they were just like maybe a couple of artists or whatever, because the art is
yeah,
really good. And for the second one, um, you know, things got a bit more creative and stuff like that. And of course, it was a free download with your box of cereal. So
yeah.
there's that. Yeah, Chex Quest. I mean, and let's get to even the best part then, because a couple years ago, the third part was released, and now they all joined together in
Yes,
a freeware release.
in an actual a three-part Chex Quest
Yeah,
game.
in
So yeah,
using the best source port that there is, Z Doom. So Google
yeah.
Chex Quest, download it and play it. It's free and
My,
it's fun, and you can see what some people did. What some people did with the Doom engine when they were like, we really need to make this game for marketing quick, but we want to make it good. I guess was that the idea, because it
that's the
looks like they
smartest
really
idea ever because Doom is awesome.
they really tried though. Like that's the
Yeah,
thing.
they
Like
really did. It
they didn't
wasn't
just
like
shit
they
it
didn't phone
out
it in.
and they were like whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can see it really worked, and you can also see what kind of quality product you could get into with your cereal at one point.
Yeah, man. I think my favorite thing about Chex Quest, other than the fact that you get to fight people with a power spoon and a power spork, is the fact that the final boss of Chex Quest is a wall. So that's pretty fun for me. I love the fact that yeah, they're like, yeah, you got to fight the final boss. It's a wall. But yeah, so yeah, check out Chex Quest if you've never played Chex Quest, and I know some people definitely haven't because
Of course
it's
they
not.
have. They're like Chex Quest.
Yeah.
What?
Man,
Yeah,
why would I play Chex Quest?
that's
It
right.
really is. It's a fun game. It's a
And
cute game. I recommended it
you'll
to
spend
someone the other
no
day.
time playing it. Like the first one is so
Oh,
easy, you'll be
yeah.
done in like an hour or two, maybe,
Yeah.
even on the highest difficulty. Second one a bit less, and then the third one is an actual kind of feels like an actual Doom mod. Like third one
Yeah.
has more creative levels, but that's recent. And again, they're all together, they all stand alone, and you don't need anything else. Just download the archive, run the game, and bam, you're good. Excellent.
Chex
So
Quest.
Chex
Check it
Quest,
out.
yeah, thumbs up. So and it's a nice switch from mostly violent, dark games that are made
Yeah,
using
you're
the.
not actually killing people. You're just sending
No,
them
you send
home.
them back.
Lovely.
Looks like you were eating them, but but
No, that's fine. You're hitting them with your power spork. It's all good.
yeah, you eat fruit promotes good eating. It's weird, right? That it wasn't
And
like.
drinking water.
Yeah, I picked up the glass of water. You picked up a glass of water. And Chex is actually your armor. The actual cereal is your armor, but what
It
you
is,
actually
yes.
eat is fruit and vegetables, which is
Yeah.
weird. Nowadays, that would like not happen. You'd be
I
like
think
just munching on the boxes of cereals for power ups. But no,
yeah.
they were like, hey, it's fruit. And Chex
I,
is just kind of like an additional, a part of a complete
I
good
think
breakfast, so to say.
yeah, that's it. The mega health is like part of a complete breakfast.
Yes.
So you get the cereal in there. So there you go.
Yes. So, well, speaking of dark and violent games,
Yes.
made with the Doom engine, it propels us to pretty much the last product to ever be
The last
commercially
commercial
released
product.
with the
Yeah.
Doom engine, and that's a really weird, unique one.
Very obscure now.
It's a very obscure commercial total conversion of Doom called Hacks, and that's HAC capital X because it's the 90s.
That's it. That's it. And it's
Uh,
actually it was an add-on for Doom 2 originally. So yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
So that you paid, I guess, $15
I think it
for
was 15 for one version and
and
20 for
20
the
for a
other.
floppy.
Yeah, there
And
you
it
go.
was 1997, so yeah, CD was
Yeah.
the way to go. So it was a budget release basically, because games still cost. I mean, $15 seems like a decent chunk of money. Uh, I'll let
You
you
don't
go.
really like hacks, do you?
I was just about to say I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Well,
Shall I go?
yeah, go hacks.
Shall I?
Hacks
All
is
right.
hacks.
Okay, hacks. I quite like hacks. I think there's a couple of things to keep in mind. Is hacks was made with dehacked, which was, you know, and
That's really
the
cool.
thing.
Actually, here we go. I'm gonna chime in now.
Okay, you chime in.
Okay, Dehacked was this very unique piece of customization that we never have seen since, and for a good reason. But because everything in Doom, in WADs, in the WAD files, there were you could have level, sounds, graphics that replace the original iWAD data. But no logic or anything. That was all hard coded in the Doom
Sure.
engine. So some smart person, and I'm sure at one point in time I used to know that person's name, actually decided to run through all the different versions of Doom executables with a debugger and find out where all those values for all those hard coded tables are, and make an editor that allowed you to change those values and cross-reference them, and so you could make, for example, a like a pain elemental shoot health packs instead of fireballs, and you couldn't really change that much, but like for weapons you could change their fire rate or when they reload, and stuff like that, so you could essentially swap things for other things
Sure.
with dehacked. And when you distributed it, because obviously distributing the executable was illegal, so you just distributed with the file, it would patch your version of Doom to all those new values if your game was heavily modified. And a lot of people used it to modify the text, like menus and in between level text, and exit messages, all that were easily editable in the Doom file. So, and hacks probably, like, because I replayed it 2 days ago, a few levels, used that very extensively
Very,
to
very,
create
very
some really
extensively.
cool things, like my favorite one is destructible furniture.
Yeah.
You could kick those chairs and they fly back and they break. And many people notice, of course, the breakable glass, although
Yeah.
that's kind of a cheat. Doesn't really look like breakable glass either. I mean, it does, but it doesn't at the same
It
time.
does that. You soon notice it if you're standing close to it and you shoot it and you're like, oh, come on. But
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, it does the job. You know, they sort of managed to do what they intended to do with it.
yeah. Okay, you can carry on that we're
Okay.
done with Deact.
Hacks is basically a total conversion of Doom 2 that was, as we said, commercial add-on. And Hacks basically puts you in a role of a wimpy little hacker who got caught by the government hacking into some FBI sites, and then you spend a year in prison pumping iron so you don't get beaten up. And all of a sudden the government are like, "Oh, we've had this crazy mutant virus thing taking over the world. We need a crazy tough hacker who just happens to be you to save the world for $20 million." I think that's the story. I think that's the gist of it. So
Something like
you
that.
play as this tough guy that's had a frontal lobe implanted in him. It's great. This one thing I love is when you get damaged and you look at the little avatar, is he's got like this Terminator thing going where half of his face is steel and half of it is like skull sticking out. So that's kind of fun. And it was made really, really rushed. You know, the original release was notoriously buggy.
Mm-hmm.
They've patched it since version 1.2. I just tried the other day to see how much they've fixed. They've fixed a lot of stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I still got a texture crash from it in, I think, like level 6 or 7. But Hacks is it really stands out for me because it's got a really distinctive art style. It does real world better than I think any Doom engine game does. I mean, the real world level in Doom 2 looks ridiculous. It looks
Yes.
nothing like the real world at all. But when you start getting into some of the, some of the levels in the game, like they did Alcatraz prison in it, which looks great. It looks fantastic. It could almost be a build engine game in terms of design in spots. They did. They had some of the weapons are very similar, but I think the thing that really sets Hacks apart from Doom and Doom 2 is again they've got this really puzzly level design, It's got they
Oh
really
yeah.
I mean some elements you can see they copied, but some bits they really focused on giving you a puzzle to solve.
Yes.
So if it can be frustrating. I'll definitely admit this that hacks, there are frustrating spots where you'll spend ages looking for a tiny little button on a desk or the tiny little crevice with a little light that you have to shoot through. But the levels are really big and complex. Like they are big. There's some big
They're
levels
big.
in there,
They're really
They're
big.
really, really, really big levels. They have really complex levels, really complex designs,
Even if
and
you know what you're doing, most levels will take you 20 minutes or further to finish. I'd say.
yeah, I
Even
know
in the beginning, like
the
level
par for
level
the
2.
first
How
level
long
is
is
30
level 2?
seconds, I think, and I can do it in like
Yeah, well, the first
way
level is
more
the
than
first
30
level,
seconds.
but
Yeah.
like it's they're really big.
Yeah,
And they're
they're
very
really big
complex, and
levels.
half the time you balance it on edges and stuff like that. And
But
yeah, and
yeah.
you're gonna praise it some more before I go in.
Yeah, I thought I'd better build it up a little bit before you tear it down completely.
I'm not
I
gonna
like
tear it
hacks.
down. It's just not my thing. Hacks. Well, first of all, I think the music is really annoying. A lot of
Yeah,
people
it
love
is.
that music, but Jesus, music
I
is
don't
really
like it.
annoying.
It's kind of hokey.
Yeah, and shut it off.
Yeah.
I like the stop motion enemies.
The
Some of them
graphics
look
are pretty
really
good.
good, others not so much. I think that the more mutant humanoid ones look a lot better than the robot ones.
Robots look
It's like stick
much
figures, white stick figures that walk
badly
around.
animated stick figures with 2 frames
Um,
of
I
animation.
think the customization is really cool. I think real world environments are really cool when they actually match. Cause if like, and especially just we're playing a couple of years ago, I'm going to nitpick. You go in and you're about a height of a table. You're like, am I a child? Am I a 5-year-old with a gun? Because everything is like the door is like 3 times my size, and my face is literally facing a table edge. So the scale is not quite there all the time. And
Yeah.
then the puzzles, some of the puzzles I find really annoying. And a lot of the times you're in a situation when you just run in with, well, I was playing on a higher difficulty. I don't know if I shouldn't have, but you run into some place and you're sort of ambushed by a whole bunch of
There's a
enemies,
lot of ambushes, yeah.
and you don't really have a lot of, like, first level is packed with pickups, right? And then you're like, oh, where did all my ammo go? And now I'm just kicking things.
There's a really weird design choice they made where they don't give you that many weapons, and then all of a sudden you get like three weapons in a single
Yeah,
level.
and it's
They
all like rooms full of pickups. Like you just go in and it's
yeah
just like 50 ammo packs, and you're like, what's going on? And then you just use that for the rest of the level because there's not going to be a single one further down the line. It's weird. And puzzles, they're cool because it's a Doom engine. You wouldn't think
yeah.
so many puzzles would be possible. You press the button, something lowers, and you run around the edge to the whole fucking other side of the room, trying not to fall. And then you jump into the hole, and you're teleported somewhere else. And there you go. And now you have to pull another 5 switches to like that's the puzzles in hacks.
Yeah.
They explored that aspect of level design to its fullest. Levels
They
that
really did
really
extensively.
really
I think
puzzly. You will spend a lot of times and you will fuck up a lot and have to redo a whole bunch of things if you don't figure it out right, which happens often with me. I'm not that clever. I just like shooting things. So yes,
okay.
hacks did quite a few very interesting things. It just happens to be none of them I think are polished enough for me to accept them,
I think
or none
this
of
is
them
a
are
real
really just
problem.
my thing. Like, and later on the game just falls apart. I haven't played the new
Yeah, it
version to
does.
see how much it was fixed exactly. I mean, even enemies feel tweaked in the new version, right? Because
Yeah.
I actually played the original version first, and then I was like, oh, let me try the update. And actually, things feel very different. And
They've fixed a lot.
yeah, and I was just like, it's cool. Like they fixed a lot of stuff, but yet something tells me that the later levels are just as insane as originally. Because the game pretty much stops being playable about two-thirds of the way in, at least for me.
You didn't
And
make it to the first hacking level, did you?
well, no, I sure did. Wait, with the
When you played the other day. When
were
you played the other day.
not the other day. No, I did not.
Okay. When you get to the hacking levels, it's some of the most obtuse and bizarre level design in terms of graphics and gameplay I've ever seen in a game. So you hack by running around a first person shooter level that makes no sense. It's some of the weirdest stuff I've ever seen.
Yes,
That's a really low point. The biggest problem with hacks is that it got rushed to try and beat Quake 1 to release
right.
and and nothing got polished, nothing got balanced. There's a lot of problems with the game. So
Which it didn't,
I
by the
think,
way. It still came out after Quake. So
yeah,
yeah.
they kind of just they were just like, man, if we don't,
It escaped basically, and it
yeah.
was
So
all balanced on it being again it was a commercial. It was such a weird thing that such thing would even exist, but it
yeah, it
was
is a commercial add-on to Doom
a
2. How weird
commercial
is that
add-on to Doom 2. So you paid money
for a mod,
for
basically?
mod. I mean, around that time it was going on. There was quite a few commercial Quake games that were about to come
Yes.
out, stuff like that. So yeah, I guess it was happening around that time. But for Doom, nobody really like it was a strange concept. People were selling the CDs full of levels from the internet and BBSs, but nobody really did a commercial total conversion at that point.
I think they had to pay id $5,000 for the rights to market it.
That's not that much.
Something like. No, it's really cheap. That's what gets me. That's really, really cheap
I
for like.
was like,
Yeah.
hey, I could have afforded it.
Yeah, man,
Uh,
that's crazy. But I think Hacks was really a landmark sort of project in terms of it showed exactly how much could be done with the
yes,
hacked. It really,
dehacked work is amazing. Like playing it the
yeah,
other day, I'm just like looking at it now, and I'm just like, wow, there's a lot of dehacked things going on, and they try. I mean, yes, again, real world environments, as disproportionate and unrealistic as they might be, uh, that's something that has not been done in a Doom engine, and I think they sort of went and did the stop motion enemies without them looking like things from Witch Haven, aka horrible.
yeah,
So
terrible. I think
yeah,
I
so
think
things in
actually I
hacks actually
find
look nice. The
I find
mutant things,
Hacks really
not the
pretty.
robots, but everything else looks
No,
good.
I plan on, and even like the weapon designs, like the the
Yeah, yeah,
the graphical user interface design. I plan on featuring it on Das Ist Good at one point. Yeah,
nice.
I find it that pretty. So, Hacks is pretty obscure. You can pick it up for free from the developer's website still. And an interesting thing about Hacks is that even though it never really did that well, and it's not really regarded as that good of a game. A lot of guys from that worked on hacks went on to work with a lot of companies like Zatrix, with id, with Epic, with Rogue, with Raven. You know, big names in the first-person shooter sort of world at the time. That was kind of a stepping stone project for a lot of guys. So that's pretty cool. You know, it's a little slice of history,
No,
and I think
interesting.
it's
No,
probably
I'd recommend it, especially because, well, you can't lose. Again, get Z-Doom, get the new version, and because all the, you don't have to patch anything now. Z-Hacked is just basically built
yeah.
into the WAD, and so Z-Doom loads that, or any modern source port loads that, and just you
Oh
get.
man, you can play it on Chocolate Doom. I tried it on my phone the other day just to see if it would run. It runs on your telephone. It does. You can run it on pretty much anything. Once
Again,
again, so
yes. So, um, uh, that's it.
it's a badly flawed game, but you should still try it just for
It's
the
free.
sake of
Again, the
history.
whole game is
Yeah,
free,
it's
and
free.
now it's not an add-on anymore. It's an iWAD now.
It is. Yes,
So you can
since
just use that
1.2.
with the source port. Download the source port for your favorite platform. Download the WAD. Load it up. It works right out of the box. So
Good.
can't get any better than that. And if things are free, it always adds to their value for me.
It really does.
So you no longer paying $20 for a stack of floppies. And that brings us to the end of
The
the
end.
commercially released, semi-commercially and commercially released Doom games. That engine lasted from the tail end of 1993 to mid 97.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that's that's decent, I think, considering how much technology advanced in that
yeah, in
time.
that time, everybody was
That's
going for superiority over everything, and
yeah.
also everybody was coming up on Doom. And that's when we didn't call it first person shooter, and we didn't even call it 3D action at that point either. They literally called games Doom clones. Play Doom, play all those games. Is there anything
Yeah.
else that we missed while talking about those games?
I think the beauty of Doom, the beauty of games like a perfectly balanced and polished game experience like Doom is it's there. You make your own memories. You know,
Hmm.
go in, play it. You've obviously played Doom. Everyone listening,
Except for that
you
one
know.
guy who is now running to get, hopefully now running
Oh, he better be.
parallel to this. Like if you're that one guy who has not played Doom, I hope
You
you
should be
listen to
playing
this
Doom
and you have
right.
it minimized. And right now you're downloading the shareware and you're downloading the Z Doom archive as well, so you can put them together and at least play the shareware. That's just for you.
Yeah, just at least play through that one episode. It's a great
Yeah,
episode. You know,
it's awesome. What's
it
wrong with
costs
you?
nothing. It's a real slice of history, and it's probably the shareware game that got shared around the most at the time. I'm sure of it. It
Well, yeah.
must be. I can't think of a
It's
bigger
shareware
shareware
game that
game.
sold the most, got
Yeah.
shared around the most, and it got pirated a lot.
Oh, of
The
course.
most. So all of those mosts are in that chunk of
There you go.
tail end of 93, 94. That's really what it was. It was
It's
the
like the Beatles, man. Even if you don't like their music, you have to appreciate what they did.
it is kind of like the Beatles, Young
Yeah, that's
guys
right.
got together, they all had something to bring to this amazing union that was like nothing before or since, and they all fell apart. Yeah, it is kind of like the
Went on
Beatles.
went on to do all their own things.
That's right. Not as successfully as they have been before, and look at where most of them now.
Man, history repeats in all sorts of
Yeah, it's
advancements in all
weird.
media.
That's right. And just the other day, it looked not that long ago, I was playing the game and they had a picture of all of them together and it said, "We're not wearing any pants." And
Genius.
look at them now. They're all middle-aged guys. All right, so all these games that we've mentioned, they're all really, really solid games, even the ones that I don't particularly like.
Yeah.
And they all have their shortcomings, except for Doom, too.
Doom 2.
And but they're all worth playing. There's not that many of them, and the formerly free slash not so free ones are two of them. The two of the last ones discussed are now available for free, so you should really check them out because they're free. Find Strife. That game is in need of some kind of a good old games re-release or something like that.
I've actually voted for it being added to good old games.
So have
You
I.
can go and do this. Go and do this, guys.
Yeah, if you
Get
have
Strife.
a GOG account, please go and vote for Strife. So maybe one day it will happen. The game deserves more recognition than it got, which is none. And
They got
then you have Hex and Heretic, of course, all worth, and then you have Doom. So that's really all you have. All those games are wonderful games. They come from this really interesting time in PC video game history, where everybody was chasing the technology, but yet they were discovering how to make 3D first-person shooters more exciting with the limited resources that they had.
Well, thank you for having me along on the podcast again. It's been a delight to
Oh,
share
it's
some
been
memories
a
from a
pleasure,
very different
sir.
perspective.
Obviously, it's like I love having you here. If I just have to get up very early in the morning, but
Yeah, I'm sorry.
that's okay. It's fine. So
I could always get up early in the morning.
and you know what? It's
and
nice to have a returning guest.
Yeah, I should come back sometime. What are we going to talk about next? We could talk about Quake Engine, except there was only one decent game made in it.
Let's pimp out your blog, your screenshot blog again.
Yeah, dasistgood.tumblr.com. It's very easy to find. You just check out my Twitter page, and I link it to right in the profile. I've got over 50 games there. I play old games. I take screenshots of some of the prettiest bits, and I put them up. If you're an appreciator, if you're a graphics whore like me, I'm a graphics whore, but I'm a graphics whore for really old graphics. So if you like VGA res graphics, like 320 by 200, if that's your kind of thing, check it out. There's some really beautiful games, some of which you've probably never heard of.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
Check
really
it.
cool. I recommend it highly. I do my screenshot things. You can look at all of them on the Facebook page for Das Nostalgia. Although, unlike Ben, I only take one screenshot of each game for some reason. So yeah, no, Das is good is a great blog. You will always there's some really cool, interesting stuff there. And some Doom related stuff, obviously.
Yeah, I've got
quite a bunch
I've got,
there.
I think I've
You
got
got you,
four of the Doom Engine
yeah.
games on there
So
now.
yeah, the big four, so to speak. That's what they're
The big
called.
four.
That is
Yeah.
what they're called, basically. So
Yeah.
yeah, most certainly check it out. And well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And I'm Anatoly, and you probably know where to find me, but I'm on Twitter as Das Nostalgic, and also anything that you can Google. You can put it on Google, Das Nostalgia. Just all of that stuff is me. So that's how you can contact me if you have an interesting topic for a podcast to discuss with me. Contact me, and you might be here talking. And you can find Ben on Twitter at.
You can. I'm at Ben_304. Very
Yeah.
easy to find.
And you can play games that Ben took part in creating. You have like a blog, right? Where with the list.
I'm kind of between blogs at the moment.
Yes.
I'm too busy making games to talk about making games at the moment.
It's true. Just Google Ben Chandler, and a
find me.
bunch of games will pop up, and you should play them.
Yeah. There's far too many. You don't want to play all of them, but play
There's a
some
lot.
of them. And play Doom.
Yeah, but play Doom. Most importantly, play Doom. If you haven't played it, play Doom. If you have played it, play Doom. It's
A perfect summary, if ever there were one.
That's it. So, well, thank you for being with us, and thank you, Ben, for participating.
An absolute pleasure, as was last time.
And hopefully both of us will return to talk about something else, if we can think of it. And listeners, have a good evening, night, whatever, and we'll meet again on the Das Nostalgia podcast.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.